All right, so it's a long video. Normally I don't do this on stream, but I think it'll be fun. So let's just watch, and I'll probably talk over it instead of pausing because it's so long.
So I was sailing in the
I'll just watch
recently, and I noticed something really strange happening. You see, these fishing boats, they just keep exploding. Look, you can see it here. If you look at the footage from the cameras of America's MQ-9 Reaper drones, you can see it right there. It's really weird. Like 200 fishermen have just spontaneously combusted so far. And what's even weirder is that the US Navy is here too.
By the way, China shooting water cannons at Filipino boats in South China Sea. Incredibly terrorist behavior. But this is base. This is what we do, baby.
They've been intercepting ships in the Caribbean that are trying to bring supplies to Cuba. So obviously I was very confused. So I decided the best way to work out what was going on is to, you know, get on a fishing boat and try to bring 30 tons of humanitarian aid to Cuba.
Good.
Evacuate your engine room immediately. In one shot, blew up the engine room. The ship stopped.
That's crazy, bro. Look at trying to do that to those people.
Very profitable business. Who would have thought we were doing that? We're like pirates. We're sort of like pirates.
So you're probably thinking two things.
I never heard Trump say we're like pirates before. I never heard that. That's crazy.
Right now, right? Number one is that I'm obviously back at home, you know, filming the intro segment to this video, so I guess I didn't die or I didn't go to prison, but you actually have no idea where I'm filming this video from, do you? Like I could be doing it from a CIA black site, or maybe I'm filming it from hell, right? Maybe I'm dead, right? You actually have no idea what happens to me in this video. And the second thing you're thinking is, why does the US have a naval blockade of Cuba, and why are they blowing up all these boats?
Yes, tell me.
Well, to find out, we need to know what's going on between the US and Cuba and how it all started. So for about 4,000 years, Cuba was home to
We get a history lesson?
People. Then the Europeans came in 1535, and through a very delicate balance of slavery and brand new cutting-edge diseases like smallpox, in just 30 years, the indigenous populations were declared completely extinct. At that point, the Europeans had the same feeling that I had when I ate an entire jar of pickles at 2 a.m. and then didn't have the ingredients left for my sandwich.
This is all historically
Without
accurate.
the indigenous slaves, the Europeans would have to do all the work. And they didn't come all the way from Europe to just like pick sugarcane forever. So they imported a brand new kind of slave from a different continent to, you know, replace.
Dude just summed up like my past 6 months of explaining American and, you know, settler colonialism and large swaths of history to people. He just summed it up in 4 seconds with a pickle metaphor.
All the ones that they killed, and they actually kind of look like this because
I'm
they look
pissed.
quite different. These ones.
I want to smoke some weed.
Let's see. Asian, white, Asian.
Yeah, you got it, man.
Yeah. So the new ones look like this, which is
Woo.
it's pretty good. Anyway, the Europeans fixed
Not
that
beating the
existing problem,
allegations.
and the system worked pretty well for them for another 300 years, until the Cubans got sick of being slaves on plantations, and I guess the Spanish got bed sores or something from sleeping on piles of bones all day. So the US actually stepped in and helped kick out the Spanish. But the main thing the Cubans got out of it was replacing a handful of Spanish plantation
Yeah, I
owners
mean,
with
much
a
love.
handful of
Take care.
Cuban
Have a good
American
night.
plantation owners, and all their profits went to US
Yeah, the
companies
writing is
instead of
great.
the King of Spain. And this system continued for the next 60 years, right? The Cuban countryside was a giant US sugarcane plantation. American companies controlled about 70% of the land, and
Listen
the
to
remainder
him
was owned
talk.
by just the 0.5% of rich Cubans.
Take this description, change the numbers, and it applies to every goddamn country we've ever interacted with.
Illiteracy and malnutrition was through the roof, but in the cities, they had so much disposable food that they started using their spare grapes and bananas to make hats. And you can see them here dancing with these stupid hats for a bunch of guys with equally stupid names like Lucky, the Bug, Joe Bananas, not to be
My
confused
day
with
is
Joe
better
Diamonds,
now.
Joe Batters, Joe Fish, and Fat Joe, who were also there, along with a guy called the Little Man and another guy also called the Little Man. You see, Havana, the capital of Cuba, was known as the Las Vegas of Latin America. And not just because it was the mecca for gambling and prostitution, but because it was run entirely by the US Mafia.
Wow, there it
Here's
is.
mob kingpin Maya Little Man Lansky hanging out in Havana with the US-backed Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista. They're getting along really well because Batista let the mob buy up every hotel and casino in the city and
Don't tell me something happens to this Batista's guy's regime. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
passed laws that facilitated their
Don't
money
tell me.
laundering and their narcotics and human trafficking. And, you know, the mob loved him. I mean, not enough to give him a stupid nickname like Bobby Gabagool, but still, they made a crazy amount of money together. And any Cuban who got in the way of this racket was executed by the dictator's secret police. Or, if you're lucky, like Fidel Castro over here, they'll just torture you and then exile you to Mexico. Now, at the time, Batista didn't realize that this was the
God damn, look at those steely eyes.
Biggest fumble in history because Castro was about to grow a beard. And with a group of 82 other bearded Cubans and a bunch of guns, he decided to sail back to Cuba from Mexico in a tiny 12-person boat that was called Granma. Which, I mean, look, I don't get it either, but they wanted to liberate Cuba from this corrupt dictatorship.
Famously referred to as the Bay of Chads.
Batista's army, and only 12 of them survived the landing, and they fled to the mountains. Now, in any normal situation, this would be the end of the revolution, but the interesting thing about Batista is that literally every single person hated him. So for the next 3 years, these 12 bearded men became thousands of bearded men, and women too. And by 1959, they had defeated Batista, who, fled the country with $424 million he embezzled from his corrupt dictatorship. Fidel Castro became the leader of this new Cuban government, and let me tell you, he got to work immediately. They skyrocketed to 7th in the world in literacy rates, eliminated poverty, brought electricity to the entire countryside, and established a system of free, universal healthcare, achieving lower infant mortality than the US and more doctors per capita than any country in the world. It's crazy what they did. I mean, you have 9/11 first responders traveling to Cuba so they can get treatments they can't access in the US.
This one test that they recommended I take is about $5,000 to $7,000. I have no medical coverage, so I can't go for the last part of the test.
No se preocupe que todo eso va a ser estudiado.
But that's actually someone else's documentary, and you're watching my one right now, so just don't worry about that video. Now, in order
Michael
to do all
Moore
this cool stuff,
taking
the
L's.
Cuban government had to make a lot of enemies, right? So a big part of eliminating poverty is getting rid of Cuba's colonial plantation system, which means taking the land back from the 0.5% of the population that owned it and distributing it to the farmers who actually worked and lived on the land. Now, the Cuban government actually wanted to do it all by the book. They didn't just take the land, they offered to buy the land off the, handful of plantation owners. But like every multinational business from Apple to Amazon to Google, they paid zero tax by cooking the books. They shift their profits around so they could claim they were running at a loss. And because the new government was doing it by the book, which was cooked, they offered these businesses the amount of money that the businesses themselves had reported for the past decade. Now, every country that owned Cuban businesses, from England to Spain to Switzerland, they accepted that they had a good run doing slave labor and lying about their profits, and the jig was up, and they took the money that was offered and signed the companies over to the new Cuban government.
What up? How you doing, bro? We're watching boy shit. It's fucking hilarious.
Well, no, every single country except for the US did that. So all these Cuban plantation owners and oligarchs moved to the US, expecting that Uncle Sam would quickly invade and topple the Cuban government and, they'd get their slaves back. So the CIA, the mafia, and Cuban exiles really gave it a good crack. They invaded Cuba 2 years later and lost, and then they did chemical warfare. Then they tried 573 different Looney Tunes-style assassination attempts on Castro. They literally tried to make him smoke an exploding cigar at one point, but, they never managed to kill the Cuban president. But look, I'm not saying that the dream team of Miami Cubans, the mafia, and the CIA are a group of bumbling idiots who can't get anything done, right? They did manage to kill the American president on their first try, which is very impressive, right? But that's a whole other story. The point is, the Cuban plantation owners never gave up. They just kept going. They did heaps of cool action movie-style terrorist attacks against Cuba over the decades. They'd bomb passenger planes, they'd shoot bazookas at public theaters.
I've not seen an intro hitting this hard for my interests in a hot minute.
It's like they killed a bunch of people, they were busy guys. But unfortunately, after 70 years of living in Miami, like anyone who lives there, their brains had completely melted, and they just don't have the same mojo anymore. All they can do these days is, get on their knees and beg Trump to bomb them next after he's done with Iran. And when they're not doing that, they make the worst AI-generated reggaeton videos in the world. Hallucinating about a utopian US-controlled Cuba where they finally get their slaves back, and, Havana has a McDonald's and a Walmart and a CBS, but somehow in their vision, the CVS isn't surrounded by fentanyl.
I just had to go to a CVS, and I sat there in line. It was just one person in front of me. It was just me in line, and there's like 100 employees behind the counter. I'm just sitting there for 10 minutes, just texting my girlfriend like, I can't stand the way that things are with CVS. The way that this.
Like you usually get at a CBS in the USA. But whatever, it's really inspiring stuff, but unfortunately, as good as their AI videos are, the Cuban government is still in charge. But there is one thing that the US did that has drastically affected Cuba, right? And it's spelled out in this declassified government memorandum from 1960, which was only a few months after the Cuban Revolution. You see, the US knew that Castro was incredibly popular, so the only way they could actually get rid of him is to completely block the country off from the outside world.
Bringing
about hunger, desperation, and eventually the overthrow of the government. So they introduced an embargo, which the US government called the most comprehensive set of economic sanctions that any country has ever had. Now, up until this point, the US controlled Cuba for 50 years, so they were obviously Cuba's biggest trading partner. But the issue isn't that suddenly US companies were banned from trading with Cuba. It's actually much, much bigger than that. See, any country or company anywhere in the world that does business with Cuba will also be sanctioned and blacklisted by the US. So let's say the CEO of a foreign company is completely insane and says, like, fuck it. Like, I really don't mind getting blacklisted and locked out of the global market. I just really, really want to sell this cancer medicine to Cuba for some reason. And even in that like super rare scenario, the US can still stop them. Since the US essentially runs the, global financial system and owns the global...
I just understand the mentality of a state that says, if you don't do things the way that we want you to, we will surround you with warships and control your fate. It's I guess behavior born from a very desperate people that seek to maintain their power. But it is just, when you put it in 30-second terms, just some of the most indefensible like actions you could imagine from a state that's not just outwardly like, okay, well, we just feel like killing people,
reserve currency. The bank that facilitates this transaction,
but they are outright killing people.
$619 million for doing it, which happened to ING in 2012. And if you can't tell by all the spelling mistakes in the company's name, it's a Dutch bank. It's got nothing to do with the US, but they can still somehow be fined for dealing with Cuba. It's actually insane, right? They've made it nearly impossible for any country to buy or sell anything to Cuba, and nothing's off limits, right? Like in 2016, when the UN set up an international children's painting competition, and a 13-year-old Cuban boy with haemophilia won. And they had the award ceremony in Algiers, as you do, and the kid was meant to receive a Nikon camera as the grand prize. But after pressure from the US, Nikon, a Japanese company, refused to hand over the digital camera, all because the kid who won was Cuban, and they didn't want to compromise their business with the US. It's actually nuts. Like, any country in the world would have an immediate humanitarian crisis if it was locked out of all international trade like Cuba was. But in the words of former US President Jimmy Carter himself, the only reason the sanctions haven't created a humanitarian catastrophe in Cuba is because the Cuban government has somehow maintained one of the best healthcare systems in the world. Without being able to trade with anyone, the Cubans have managed to use the very little resources that they have and make it go a really, really long way. The healthcare system isn't just surviving under 70 years of the biggest economic blockade on Earth, but they're still doing international aid. Like, a tiny country that can't trade with anyone sends more doctors to the third world than the world's 8 richest countries combined. They cured blindness for 4 million people around the world for free, and even in the more extreme cases like Haiti, Cuban doctors make up 75% of all healthcare in the country. I mean, without Cuban doctors, there would basically be no doctors left in Haiti. It's crazy. Somehow the Cubans managed to do all this impossible stuff for almost 70 years, but that brings us to the year of the fire horse, 2026. Now, one of the only countries that's ever been brave enough to, sell oil to Cuba has been Venezuela, because
yeah, so, people taking advantage of other people for long periods of time, successful revolution. And really, the American response to the Cuban Revolution is, let's be clear here, to throw a fucking hissy fit and just kill people. Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, he's dead.
They're already sanctioned to shit, so what more could the US government do, right?
He's gone now.
Well, it turns out the US government can actually do a lot more, right? Especially now that the government's been supercharged with the insatiable aura of the pedophile.
I'm not too worried about the spoilers, but thank you.
The US military flew in, bombed the country, killed a bunch of people, and kidnapped the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro.
He did foreshadowing.
And they've been holding him in US prison for the past 6 months, claiming he's
I think about this all the time. I feel like I'm the only fucking person in my whole country who thinks about this. But I'm not saying you have to sit here and think that my man Maduro is uber competent. I'm not saying anything that you don't have to like him. I'm saying you should probably read into the history, but you don't have to like the guy. You can call him whatever you want. But the fact that we stole him and his wife and he's sitting somewhere in a cell, shouldn't it be his country's job or his local country's job to deal? I'm sorry, but what What? You can't just take the president. You can't just kidnap the president's wife and put her in the Brooklyn basement. You can't do it. It's against the law. His local oligarchs. I'm saying the people of the global south should determine their own politics, including toppling tyrants if that's your belief. This isn't world police. This is just, I just can't wrap my head around like there's no reason to do it like this. Like all you're gonna do is like if the dude was a liked leader, you're gonna cause terrorism, and if he wasn't, you're just gonna bestow dominance over a region, and it's gonna sharpen the contradictions. Like I don't understand. America understands how to play in the threshold, you know, of capitalism, but like I don't think that this administration does. I think that our current administration and the current wave of modern politicians, to be more broad, playing the game of imperialism, I don't think they have any idea what the fuck they're doing. I think they're fucking stupid. And I say them, you can point it at Trump, point it at whomever you want. But this is just fucking dumb.
Which is weird because, you know, the
ramble.
brother of the US Secretary of State is an actual drug trafficker. And just a month before that, Trump pardoned the
There's a
president
reason
of
most people
Honduras who
kill the leader
actually
instead of
trafficked
kidnapping them.
Tons of cocaine into the United States. But whatever. Look, what I'm trying to say is that they're full of shit.
What's up,
Apart from the fact
Donk?
Maduro somehow dresses exactly like my local drug dealer, there's actually zero evidence that he's involved in drug trafficking. But at the end of the day, none of that really matters, right? Venezuela got the message loud and clear and they stopped selling oil to Cuba. And just to make sure nothing else slips through, the US has sent its military out to intercept any other country that dares sell oil to Cuba. Even civilian boats are getting intercepted. I mean, look, the New York Times actually made a cute little animation of a civilian ship trying to buy and sell oil, getting ping-ponged by a wall of US ships intercepting it in the Caribbean. But this guy's one of the lucky boats. I mean, since December, the US has killed over 200 people by drone striking random ships in the Caribbean, turning the sea into...
And this is what I talked about. I'm sorry for the pausing, but I just want to once again draw your attention to the way that the West characterizes Chinese aggression in the South Chinese Sea, which, by the way, is, you know, silliness. Like the methods in which they're doing it. But we're basically talking about enforcing territory and rights and stuff. And it's like, this is all we do. All I want you to do is look at the way we criticize the Chinese in the South China Sea, and then look at what we do. And just really, just tell me with your chest that you're on the right side of history. It's like, yeah, that's bad to be stealing the fish for yourself. You're right. I agree. But look what we do, folks.
To a no-go zone for pretty much anyone. Now, the US claims they're killing drug traffickers, which is kind of funny because in the United States,
wait, what did I
punishment for
say?
Killing drugs is not execution, and so it's illegal anyway. But it's also super convenient because they've simultaneously blown up all the evidence of the supposed drug trafficking. And it's extra weird considering that the families of the victims are suing the US, showing that their dead husbands, brothers, and sons are just fishermen. And look, I don't know who to believe, right? Obviously, both these claims are equally credible, but that's beside the point, right? What I'm trying to say is the Caribbean Sea is now a no man's land, right? And Cuba hasn't had any fuel for 8 months. They're going through constant blackouts, the garbage trucks, the hospitals, everything's down. It's absolutely horrifying.
What's Marco up
as
to?
As a YouTuber who cares about this stuff, my first thought was, how can I make this about me? So I teamed up with Progressive International, and together we're going to get some boats and fill them with food and medicine and see if we can get through this military blockade. Alex and I have done so much dangerous stuff in the past, and I was so excited for the next adventure, but Alex was actually too scared to do this one, right? Which, you know, I don't really care, right? My best friend doesn't want to hang out with me. It's not like a big deal. I got heaps of other friends, actually. I got one other friend, Dan. Let me tell you, me and Dan, we go way back. We're talk about friends. He's probably my best friend ever, actually. Now that I think about it, it's always just been just me and Dan against the world, and no one else matters as far as I'm concerned. We go way back. You know those guys that go to South America? You know the guys I'm talking about? They got disgusting.
Dude has the
hair,
vibes of that guy from The
I can't
Office,
stop telling you about how
Dwight's
the ayahuasca
Amish cousin or whatever.
all their worldly vices, but they're also inexplicably addicted to Cuban cigars now. Well, that was me and Dan 14 years ago. We went to Cuba together back then and did everything you'd expect us to do. And look, obviously that was a long time ago, and we've both changed a lot since then, right? We both got haircuts. So Dan and I were all packed and ready to fly to Mexico and to try and sail this boat through the US blockade. What we didn't realize is that since we decided to go the dangerous route by boat instead of, flying all our aid in.
I wonder just like selfishly what would happen if they tried to bring some fuel in as well. We're gonna find out if they got inspected or not, but pretty wild to be doing this shit. I feel like it's more wild to do a flotilla or try to get any aid into Israel. But it's not really a contest. It's like first of all, this is ridiculous and not really helping, but it's going to be fascinating to watch. But I just can't imagine actually going through with this. It's like very reckless.
Like everybody else, this trip would essentially be a never-ending cascade of bad news. And we received our first dose of it as soon as we arrived at the airport.
We got a message from the organizers. Apparently there's some fucking cyclone. Yeah, so essentially we're going to be delayed by 3-4 days, and we don't even know. I'm scared of the US invading Cuba.
Yeah.
The longer we wait,
Yeah,
the more likely we're going to be there for when that happens.
Everyone else is just flying in, hey?
Yeah. Every smart person.
Yeah.
Every important person. Also, I'm scared of getting bombed by the US. And it's just
Oh my God,
now we're taking the slowest boat possible. We're going to spend a month in that little channel just begging them to intervene. If we were fast enough, it's we've got a day. We've got a day in which it can happen. That's it's not a lot of time for them, for the Navy to make decisions.
Yeah.
But now they're going to be like, oh, do you want to do it today? They say nah. And then 3 days.
I don't think that the U.S. military is bombing the ships that try to bring aid to Cuba. I think they're bombing fishermen just for fun as a dominance thing. That's what I think. Whereas Israel, who knows what they're going to do to you if you try to bring a boat in there.
I'd love to take YouTubers on a dangerous trip to here.
No migrant.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's weather. Trust them as my captain.
The stupid windy piece of shit.
I was really scared of the cyclone and the delays, but there was another coincidental issue that made me really scared of being in Cancun specifically and waiting for the weather to clear up.
Look, we actually timed it perfectly for the peak of spring.
That is just so stupid.
Yeah.
We're gonna be the most disgusting men in the world.
This is the worst.
Yeah, man, just a couple of 30-year-olds with 1,000 cameras. I feel like a married man who's concocted the most transparent lie I could think of. Sorry, babe, I gotta go do aid work. The children need me, man. Oh, what? Spring break for a week? Popular with 18 to 25-year-olds, it's us.
We're gonna get arrested. It's not our fault.
I was trying to do aid.
Well, we're on the plane now, so there's no turning back from our destiny of, being creeps in their mid-30s going to spring break. But whatever, that's a minor annoyance. We also had to fly a really stupid way to get there. Since the US has this tendency of, arresting and deporting people who they don't like, even if they're just doing a layover and, not actually entering the US, we had to fly all the way up to Canada and then fly back down to Mexico.
Bro, that's too much flying. That's too much.
How are the thumbs going, Dad? I did not think about this. I was just it's only 5 hours from Cancun. Oh, spring break.
So we just sat in the warmest diner we could find near the airport for 13 hours. And then it was time to fly over to the climate that we actually packed clothes for.
Tenemos que practicar español. Tengo una idea. Todo el vuelo. El vuelo. Solo hablamos en español.
You did a cumulative 26-hour flight once?
Si no sabemos cómo se dice.
7 hours felt like I was gonna die.
Decirlo en inglés con un acento en español. Yo tengo miedo de las bombas americanas. Necesito hacer caca en mis pantalones. Sí, es como se dice. Se dice así.
We finally touched down in Mexico and we had to make our way to this little island where our boats were leaving.
Propeller planes.
So far,
I've been in those.
Mexico's the best country I've ever seen.
But only from Philly
It was bloody great.
to some part close. I feel like I've already died. Someone's gonna shoot a flaming arrow at them. There's a Viking send-off scene where...
Yep. Hearing this song when we get double tapped. I've never seen my my own death so clearly.
What do they do? This is a ferry or something?
What it's gonna be like.
Floating up that way.
You ascend into the heavens.
So there we were. We're on the island, and it was time to see the boats and meet our fellow
It
sailors.
looks so much different here
Like 2 days. I know something about
in this
being
climate.
so severely jet lagged that like doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
You know, and if we're doing something normal, it would feel surreal. We're also doing something insane.
So we found the place, and it turns out our boats were just on the other side of this mangrove. Now, I went in there without filming because, I didn't want to ruin my first impression by being, an annoying YouTuber and sticking a camera in people's faces. But it turns out their first impression of me was actually much, much worse than any of that, right? Like, what happened next is probably the most embarrassing thing I've ever put on the internet. And in my defense, I was very sleep deprived, like super sleep deprived. But I don't even know why I'm making excuses, right? You're going to see it anyway. But I essentially ran away from them, right? I shat my pants and I just ran away. Like, I was only there for like 2 minutes, and I met them and I said, hi, my name is Alexa. And these are like serious activists that were on the previous flotilla to Gaza. And they started telling me all this scary stuff, like about the likelihood of us getting bombed and how dangerous the conditions are in the sea right now. And I suddenly felt like this burning sensation in my stomach, and I said I need to go poo, but then I disappeared for like 24 hours. And to be fair, I was actually pooing for a while. Like, it was one of those like serious like shirt off poos, but that only accounted for like 15 minutes of my disappearance. The next 24 hours were mainly just me panicking and planning to go home.
You okay?
My stomach's fucked. It's so fucking bad.
Whoa, what's going on there?
Yeah, I just feel like an idiot. Did I come all this way, like, secretly knowing that I didn't want to?
This is unhinged.
I felt like the dumbest guy in the world. Like, what did I think it was going to look like? What could it possibly have looked like that wasn't this confronting? And now I'm fucking embarrassed, because, like, why did I disappear? Why was I there for 2 seconds?
So, dude shows up to these activists with a boat talking about going to Cuba. And dude's like, and they probably know who he is. And dude's like, yeah, so what's up with this boat? And they're like, all right, yeah, it's dangerous because of this, that, and the third. And like mid-sentence, he just like, all right, I got to go take a shit. And then dips for a day.
Like, what are your options? I mean, I don't think you can really go home.
You're in a lose-lose situation, buddy. I would just pretend it never happened.
Learn that I'm not that guy. Like,
I would just show back up like I'm ready.
I feel good doing that.
I feel bad, but it's like, I could have died. Eddie thinks better than that.
Yeah, you really feel...
Yeah, I'm like really scared.
Yeah.
Hours passed during this freak out. The organizers didn't know where I'd gone. Like, little did they know that I was just a kilometer away, and it was just me staring into the void.
That's
and
hilarious.
Apparently stimming, which is a brand new feature I didn't realize I had for the past 30 years. But this one I worked out what the problem was. Like, it's not the fact that I'm like a pampered YouTuber who pretends he cares about the world, but can't handle any risk to his comfortable middle class life. You see, the problem was Dan.
Middle
See, Dan is
class?
one of those very kind people.
Come on.
Right? Like a really good
reactionary
friend
shit
that
out of
sort
there.
Like, when they see their friend panicking, they try to comfort them, right? Like, hear them out and give them space. But that's when I realized
Took a
what I actually
helicopter
needed was,
from
like,
Medellin to
asshole, like
Guatape.
Alex.
I don't know how to say
Whenever
it.
I freak out while we're sneaking into a CIA base or laundering money, he's always been there to concoct the most sociopathically efficient way to bully me into doing something I'm terrified of.
Hey, Alec.
Hey, man. I am fucking shitting myself. I'm so scared.
We went to go meet everybody, Alex, and Alexa just decided he needed to take a crap and ran off after.
I literally ran away.
No, I don't really want to do this anymore, guys. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I just remembered I need to poo, and then they never see me again.
It's exactly what you asked
No,
for.
it is exactly what I asked for, and now I'm thinking like, did I just secretly know the entire time that I didn't want to do this?
Well, I was surprised. Like, man, I freaked out more than Alexa is. I was like, is this man fucking suddenly love the open ocean?
Why am I so fucking stupid?
Well, Alexa, I think you know nothing about sailing, so don't try to understand it. All right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
let them. You're not going to magically solve all their sailing problems in like 5 minutes. Be like, wait, what if we tried this? It's just going to confuse you, and you're going to feel worse about it.
Well, I feel really bad now, so I think that's what's happened. The woman who's like one of the organizers did the Gaza flotilla, and she's like, yeah, when we did that, it was like a 70% chance that we would die, and we all knew that. And this one, is more chill, and I'm just like, I don't know, what do you... Like, how much more chill? I'm like with people who seem like their risk tolerance is so high.
So
Like Dan. Well, Dan's like,
he's
yeah, they seem really nice and cool.
he had to poo, and he's also scared. Got it.
You are a YouTube content creator.
Yeah.
What would Mr. Beast do?
Pay someone else to do it. Pay someone $1 million to do it with their hands tied.
I guess I don't really.
Yeah, fuck. I forgot. I said
Yeah.
to be helpful. I forgot he would do that.
What's up, Tanit? You look serious? What's up, bro? My bad.
But that was my problem.
I know, but that's what I gotta do now as well.
Okay.
Alright, well, good
I
luck.
bet.
Let me know what you decide to do.
Okay. Bye-bye. So the call obviously didn't help, and I immediately went back to being a fidgety little cow. I spent 2 minutes around legitimately selfless people who understand that their lives aren't more important than the lives of Palestinians and Cubans, and they're willing to put their money where their mouth is. And I was slowly realizing that I'm a bit of a phony, and I'm terrified. Like, before I made any drastic decisions, I did decide to sleep on it, right? And honestly, a decent part of my panic could be attributed to the fact that I hadn't slept 50 hours, because the next day was absolutely beautiful. I mean, look, the boats weren't in the best condition.
I mean, you want to make the content. You gotta take the sacrifice, right? It's pretty silly.
And the third boat that we were meant to be on hadn't even arrived in the port yet. I mean, we weren't even sure.
I mean, imagine how scary it would be to just sail into a place where the military could kill you, the U.S.
And I
military.
discovered that it's surprisingly easy to.
But if you want that content, you gotta do it.
death when you're busy trying to fix up a boat. For the next few days, we'd spend the daytime fixing up the boats and spend the nights having, little hoedowns. I honestly felt like I was living through the kind of thing that a middle-aged woman would fantasize about when, her husband forgets her anniversary. Just a ship full of sexy young adventurers in South America, just surrounded by socially conscious, ripped guys who they stare deep into your eyes and promise to take you far away to feed starving people and make love under the stars. But still, for those few days, I was actually having a great time, right? Apart from when we sang all those sea shanties that, for some reason, they traditionally always focus on sailors dying horrible deaths on the ocean.
Dude has like the longest possible build up to it and all this fluff, and I rip a map. The second I rip the map, he goes for it.
Like boat maintenance, and I met a lot of cool people. Which reminds me, I promised Jorge I'd plug his homemade chairs in this video. So if you're ever in Isla Mujeres and you need a really good chair, go find Jorge. He's got you covered. Anyway, as each day went past, I was getting a lot more comfortable. But more importantly, since a lot of these people had been on the previous flotilla to Gaza, like this guy playing the fiddle called Adnan, he let me know in detail what we were in for, and I was surprised. I spent the lead up to this trip freaking out about getting bombed by the US, but it turns out it's also pretty fucked if they don't kill you, right? Even just getting intercepted by the military is still a horrifying experience.
Normally they intercept the boats with like their elite marine units, but there were so many boats, so they didn't have enough of those elite forces, so they just called up like reservists, and you could see that they were like totally, like they didn't know how to drive the boat, like they couldn't figure out, like they were throwing up, they were seasick, like it's, once you first see that green laser dot on your chest and you know that it's an 18-year-old who's been raised from birth to think that you're some kind of threat and subhuman, honestly, there's a pretty decent chance they'll pull the trigger.
Now, the interesting thing about Adnan is
guess we're done with Path.
else who was sailing into the arms of the IDF, Adnan was simultaneously on a family vacation because he was on the boat with his younger brother as well.
They demanded the passport when they intercepted him, and he said, I want to speak to a lawyer.
Oh, yeah.
And they punched him in the face. And when they loaded him on the prison bus, like, there's cells on the bus, so like you're already locked up. And the 4 of the guys just jumped on him and just started hammering him.
Holy shit.
And they beat him until he fell to his knees and curled up in a fetal position, and they were kicking him. And I was there watching my brother get beat, and I couldn't do
what can you do?
It was tough, man. Finally, I think we got into our cell. It was like a relief to be in the cell. You're like, okay, we're gonna be left alone at least for a little while now,
But the relief didn't last long. Now, this is where the psychological warfare started.
We were like totally disoriented. I mean, we hadn't slept for 24 hours, and we were just exhausted. Of course, I don't know what time it was in the morning. They undo the padlock. It's a big crossbar that they take off the door, so you hear the clunk, of the metal. We were made to kneel down. Put our hands on our heads, and we didn't understand what was going on at all. So they've got dogs as well that they come in and they're like ready to release on you. They've got their green sniper dots on your chest. Yeah, sometimes they would just come in and count you.
Yeah.
And It's like you think somebody slipped away.
Yeah,
you
you
know?
guys ate each other. Like, I don't know.
Right. No, I wanted to move to the next cell. I just tunneled through the wall.
Yeah,
you know,
easy.
I don't know what the hell.
So they do this weird intimidation routine multiple times a night. Like, you never know when it's coming.
This
right?
is pretty fucking tame compared to what IDF does. I'm not saying it's good at all, but like, imagine there's even worse, much worse.
And it always ends with...
I don't want this. I don't want nothing to do with this.
He forgot that how many people were in the cell afterwards.
Sounds horrible.
So they came in like all like shock and awe. Lights on, guns out, dogs in, everything, count us, blah, blah, blah. And then he forgot. So after we were all like getting back in bed, he came back and like meekly poked his head like through the bars of the cage, and it's like...
That's ridiculous.
Subtana, yeah.
And it was so funny to me, like, why don't you just do that in the first place?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's because you want to terrorize.
Intimidation, yeah. I mean, look, it's a horrifying experience, but these activists are just constantly willing to put their lives on the line, like again and again for a good cause. And it makes sense why they do it, right? When you're fighting against the most powerful countries in the world and you're just a regular civilian, the flotillas are actually a really clever tactic. Like Cuba and Gaza, right? A group of people are being starved by military blockade, but the countries that are doing it are put in an impossible position when the flotilla arrives, right? So either you let them through and you look weak and it inspires more people to try and break your blockade, or you kill them or imprison them, in which case you look like a monster because now you're harming civilians from other countries, not just, the brown people that you've so far been able to justify.
And that's typically been the glue holding together Western liberalism, or just liberalism in general. These countries that want to do their imperialism, it's been holding them together for the past century or more, like this exact notion. But like, it's changed because nobody really cares, so it's easy to just do whatever you want, right? People have become more desensitized than ever. It's like, yes, we get more news, but like there's more noise in that news. So like the idea of, oh no, Israel cracked down on a flotilla, it doesn't really affect anything in the West, is my point.
Killing. For that
Even
reason,
though it should.
The authorities try to stop the flotilla at every step of the way before you set sail. Which is actually quite easy to do in the case of Cuba because the country's already sanctioned.
Make some more coffee.
Right? So if we want to get a boat for the flotilla, the company that rents or sells it to us and the insurance company that's covering the transaction and the voyage, they're immediately locked out of the international banking system because they're now doing business related to Cuba, right? And I don't know, no business is going to take that risk. So that's why our boats kind of suck, right? Like we either had to salvage like an old shit boat or pay a business an exorbitant amount of money to, make up for the fact that, their company will practically cease to exist after they do business with us. And we got a taste of that bureaucratic issue while we were fixing up these ships and the ship that we were meant to be on never arrived. Right? It turns out all this pressure from the US and their sanctions meant that our boat was being held up all the way over here in Progreso, 300 kilometers in the wrong direction. So Dan and I had to get a last-minute bus across Yucatan and gear up for a much longer sea voyage, if we were actually going to be allowed to set sail at all. Which is a pretty annoying situation to be in, but it was only exacerbated by the fact that the Mexican bus company chose the worst possible movies to play.
There are so many movies in the world. Why did the Mexican bus have to play the one of everyone?
All right.
What the fuck is this?
All right, I'm sold.
I hate this.
Perfect.
Also, these boats are so much better than ours.
Perfect.
And if that wasn't spooky enough, we got another call from...
What's a movie about a plane crash? Put that on during a plane. Fuck me. A plane flight.
Alex to scare us even more.
Trump's comments this morning where Trump is just saying, yeah, I can take it.
I do believe I'll be having the honor of making Cuba. I think I can do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation.
Oh, I fucking hate it. It actually changes the way I look at Twitter now because everything I read scares the crap out of me. Like, hearing just like everyone's opinions on this thing is so upsetting. I'm just like, just shut up. Just don't talk about it. Just leave me alone. Like.
But we finally arrived to Progreso Harbour and it was time to see our boat.
I've not seen our boat. I've heard some horrible things about it, but I haven't seen it.
What's the best case scenario?
I don't know. Well, that's the thing. I don't even know what a good boat looks like.
What are you looking for here?
I want to see a local walk past and go.
I'm gonna get a slice of pizza, but
finally arrived to Progreso Harbour.
I probably shouldn't miss this, so just give me 2 seconds. We're back.
was time to see our boat. The only problem is no one from the flotilla was here yet, so we're just a couple of gringos in a fishing town trying to work out which boat is ours.
I'm really hoping it's that luxury yacht with the American flag on it.
Look at that thing, hey?
All I could really tell was that these were definitely 100% fishing boats.
Oh yeah, you smell that.
Yeah, that's pretty potent. I guess we're
They
on.
said blue and white, which is...
That could be one of them.
Oh fuck, is that one wooden?
Yeah.
We got the one wooden one.
After a little while, the other activists showed up and we were about to get our first glimpse of the boat.
But they told me it was the biggest one. And you can see it there, just sticking out of the top. Big is good, I think. Bigger the boat,
Yeah,
better
right.
the boat.
Right.
Think about Titanic, you know, big.
How are you going to get to it? We got to sail over to our boat.
Oh, can we go? But yeah, boat to boat.
I think it's had a fresh coat of paint too.
You can smell the fresh paint.
Yeah.
Like everyone has to take care of.
Don't worry, that'll be me.
Yes, I'm super excited. So much improved from yesterday.
Oh really? I feel like the smell of the paint is really overpowering the smell of the fish. Put like a fresh coat of paint on a fishing boat, you don't know what the actual offensive smell is, you know? It's good.
Whoa! The aid hadn't arrived yet, so we were getting busy, you know, cleaning up and washing the boat, and I thought I was doing a pretty good job and, you know, making myself useful, but I'd barely been on the boat for 15 minutes, and I managed to secure my position as the most useless crew member. Now, pay attention to this rusty metal shaft that goes down 2 meters into the engine room. Even though I'm filming it right now, in about 3 minutes, I'm about to forget all about it and walk into the boat with my head held high and just plummet straight down that hole.
I heard the sound and everybody yell out. I said, that's definitely Alexis falling down the hole. There's like 30 people here.
See if anybody's actually watching or if you're listening.
You gotta watch out for that. Oh man. You gotta be careful. You get really hurt doing that. Yeah. Careful.
AFK check.
Oh, man.
I'm eating pizza, sorry, chat.
Could you just like split your head open? Right?
Yeah, that's crazy. That should not have happened.
While we're in this fishing village, watching all these fishermen trying to help us reverse park our fishing boat, something dawned on me.
I've been shitting myself for a week about the US bombing all those fishing boats. I didn't realize we were like exactly on a fishing boat. Like this is the worst kind of boat for it, isn't it?
This is where the tuna go.
Yeah, there's a little fish hatch.
What I also didn't take into account is that the fishermen here, all around us, live with the constant fear of getting bombed every time they set sail to do their jobs.
Here we go. This is the awesome part of the video. We're gonna hear a lot of shit like this. Now, awesome is a bad word for it, but interesting.
¿Y qué piensan ustedes de esa flotilla?
De esta ayuda muy bueno, muy bonito.
Sí.
La verdad. Ojalá lleguen. Ojalá y porque pues escuchan noticieros y todo que todo les quitan. No llega esa ayuda humanitaria.
Sí,
Ya han enviado muchos países. Lo ves a los pobres como los tienen.
It was actually horrifying thinking that these people risk getting blown up just for doing their jobs, and you know, I felt awful until the fisherman started flexing on us about like how much better his boat was than our boat, and then I don't know, I felt kind of neutral about it after that.
Sí, no sabemos dónde dormir.
Hay como 10 para 25. Wow, todo madera, Sí,
Así es, muy bonito.
Vamos con ustedes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had to end our tour of this guy's much more comfortable and sturdier boat because our aid truck started coming in and it was time to somehow get 30 tons of food and medicine onto this boat. Now, we didn't just have 3 big trucks, but also a bunch of like nice everyday people heard what was going on and drove up and brought their own donations. It was really beautiful.
Now here's the cool
It was a lot
part.
of work, but the energy was great. Everyone was singing the whole time, so even when you're on your 50th sack of beans and you know it rips apart and you spill beans everywhere, you need to like tape it up and fix it, you still feel great. It had been hours and hours of hot work, and I was slowly starting to realize how much 30 tons actually is, right? Like, especially when you're down in the hull.
Fairly substantial amount of stuff they're bringing. That's why fishing boats is not terrible. But like, I guess, you know, you wonder. You really do. Even just like a few more thousand people interested in the idea of doing stuff like this could make it like undeniable. But it is quite scary, and without motivation of being able to tell a story to an audience, or, you know, it's what you are passionate about, I can understand the motivation for wanting to do this is pretty low.
Loading an endless stream of sacks and boxes.
But it is awesome.
It's really warm down there. Yeah.
Been down below.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Just this thick smell of diesel.
Yeah.
Hot.
Working.
Boxes. Is this another? Is one of the?
Yeah, there's 2 more to go.
Is this the same truck?
Same one.
Oh,
yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Let's
stuff.
go have a smoke.
But we just kept going, right? Loading bicycles and solar panels and everything that would fit on this boat. It got to 3 a.m. and it looked like we were maybe, I don't know, getting close to finishing.
Damn, that's
until the
awesome.
Mexican Navy heard what was going on, and they made us stop so they could check through all the things we were loading to, you know, make sure everything was up to code.
Mexican Navy's like, hold on a second. What's going on? What's going on in there? Hold on. That's awesome.
Which led to hours of negotiations, right? Well, when they clocked that we had filled this little boat with like 30 tons of aid and there were only 10 beds, they insisted that we only had capacity for 10 people and that more than half of us wouldn't be able to make the trip, which is, you know, a rough thing to hear after weeks of preparation, but eventually they caved and let us go. I mean, until the sun came up the next morning and they returned to address even more regulatory issues and safety concerns. But at least there's one major safety concern that we don't need to worry about because we addressed it within the first 15 minutes of seeing the boat.
Right, if they painted that white water around it because of me, I'm integral to the ship's safety. If it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have painted that thing there.
Safety officer.
Yeah. I just go out, walk through places, get hurt, and then we know what the dangerous things are.
But it was all squared away now, and we had officially gotten our passport stamped by the customs
Needs a
officer,
grid,
so
yeah.
This was it, right? There's no turning back now, and I am terrified.
That's it.
There we go.
Well, if we don't go now, then we're going to be illegal in Mexico. Oh, you learn something new about yourself all the time.
What are you learning?
I just realized that when I'm actually scared, I need a poo.
You're like an octopus.
Yeah, I just...
Oh, wow.
understand. I thought it was like a turn of phrase, like shitting myself.
No. Oh, there you
I
go.
can't stop pooping.
This is a journey of self-discovery.
I don't want to know that. It's so inconvenient. Imagine if I have to do something important in the future.
Yeah.
I will just have to poo myself.
Yeah, no, you can prepare for the scenario.
Or
Your
if, you
low
know,
fiber diet.
I'm about to have a baby.
I wonder how Ethan Klein's doing.
I got a shit. You know, I go to my parents' funeral. I'm shitting. I'm not there. How bad is that? What am I going to do on the boat? I'm just going to be pooping the entire time.
Yeah, better the devil we know, hey?
Agradecer a todos los trabajadores del puerto también.
These fishermen are based as fuck.
Well, there you go. I'm stuck on the boat
Look at
now.
the way.
and whatever
Hold on.
happens-
Look at this. Yes. Oh, hold on. Bro, peak, man. Fucking. That's meme worthy, dog. He's so beautiful.
Well, there you go. I'm stuck on the boat now, and whatever
Oh,
happens.
all right.
So I guess now's a good
Sorry.
time to find out what the actual.
Sorry for who
chances
I
are
am.
I'll get blown up out here. Everyone was so excited to finally set sail, and for some reason, as soon as the boat left, I wasn't that scared anymore. Like it's kind of like the possibility of going home kept me in a state of panic, and now that I knew I had no choice, my mind just tried to shut off all the unhelpful negative stuff.
I was pooping my pants out of fear like half an hour ago.
I guess I'm confused. Like,
Now I
does
feel like I've never pooed before.
he's afraid of the apprehension, the detention and torture and abuse? He's not afraid of getting bombed, right? They're not going to bomb the flotilla.
Yeah.
He's just afraid of the military's action, right?
I haven't happened before.
What do you reckon? Sailing life for you?
Which is reasonable. I'm not saying
Harbour,
it's
the
wrong.
5 minutes of sailing we've done, I reckon I could do this the rest of my life.
Now, I knew we had a bunch of activists and journalists on board from around the world, but I felt a bit out of place seeing the caliber of journalism on this boat.
I should have brought a suit.
Yeah, your channel, you'd be much more legitimate.
That's fucking awesome. Is he gonna wear it the whole time?
But as we left the harbour, it got harder and harder to hold the camera straight. And eventually it got hard to just stand straight. And I realise now that I'm editing it, it's surprisingly hard to capture how unstable the boat was on camera because, you know, the cameraman is essentially being a human gimbal. Like here's an example. If you do this to a chicken, notice how its head always stays upright. That was us when we were filming, right? You're watching this video through the chicken's head and everything looks much, much better from the perspective of the chicken.
It's hard to walk around, man.
No few legs.
Yeah. Are we gonna get used to it? I don't know.
No, I don't know. Need a hole into a wall.
Apparently this is the easy bit.
No.
Yeah. I think the waves are gonna get fucked.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
At this point, I realized there was something I needed to do that I should have done while the boat was stationary.
Gotta put this on top of the boat.
You're gonna fall off.
I can barely walk down here. There we go.
I was pretty scared of flying overboard when I went to set up this satellite on the roof, but now that I'm editing the video, I'm actually much more scared about the fact that my dick was hanging out of my pants the entire time. Going through the footage is so bad because there's just like so many clips. Just so many clips of just my balls on the screen. And before we set sail, you know, we got all our luggage, we ratcheted it.
When they say bowls instead of balls, my bowls, dude. Oh fuck, it's perfect.
Up like down in the hull. So
no regrets.
Fly around everywhere, but that meant that all I could really wear was what I had on, you know, and it was really stupid. So if anyone on the flotilla was watching this, I'm so sorry you had to stare at my balls for like the entire week. Like I actually had no idea that they were just hanging out the whole time, and I don't know, getting seasick and worried about getting bombed is bad enough without having to stare at my balls all week. So I'm really sorry. But back to the satellite.
It's an A, not a U.
Pretty nuts. Like I tried to keep my body,
you
close
silly
to the ground, but
oceanic
the ground
people.
wasn't particularly stable either.
Bits of the roof are coming off. Very slippery. If we get intercepted by the US Navy, if I can get internet on this ship, then I can back everything up. And then they take us, they imprison us, whatever. But the footage, what you're watching right now, is going to be on the internet. All because of what we're doing right now.
Okay.
So if you're watching this, if you can see this video, it means the internet worked and we got it through. If you're not watching this, it means it didn't work.
But I had no choice, right? You slowly get used to the movement of the boat. And
They could have had like an osprey carry a message back to shore.
What are you doing?
Glass of rosé. You want me to get some alcohol? Fuck it. All right. I'll get a glass. I'll get a glass. But only because we're watching videos. That's the only reason. You said sorry? No, you're good.
So where's that going?
My ass.
Okay. Oh, it's teeny tiny.
Right in my ass.
Go and notice the thing.
This one. On the front of my penis. There are all these different options.
Oh, right, yeah. For your satisfaction.
I can have a good trip.
Now, the next challenge of the day, which is actually quite linked to me being scared on the roof, is needing to use this thing. Now, since the boat is constantly rocking back and forth, you need to secure the door while you're hovering over this seatless toilet. And if you're a socially minded person, you're probably going to want to flush when you're done. So you have to get this bucket and lower it over the side of the boat and fill it up with seawater before you even go in. Now, I used this toilet exactly once, like only on the first day. It was actually impossible to stay still, right? You're squatting over this thing, shaking back and forth, you're shitting everywhere. And
I would have no problem
like
using that.
To just clean up the mess that I made. And at that point, I made a vow that I just wouldn't poo ever again. And I just go mind over matter and just like hold it in for the next week.
This is fucking unhinged, bro. Where's the fucking...
And it's not even about the sheer...
This is a shitty video.
It's also the fact that you're just in this like stinky, confined plywood box and it just makes you seasick immediately. So, you know, feeling constipated is way better than that. But it also became increasingly difficult to be inside the boat at all. Because it turns out the Alexopoulos memorial shaft was left constantly open to stop the engine room from overheating, which meant that the kitchen and the bunk beds were just dense with this like noxious diesel fume. So when the sun started going down, most people tried to find some space to sleep on the floor outside, which was harder than we originally thought because, you know, we loaded multiple pallets of solar panels on the deck.
How long was this trip?
Sleeping. If you're lucky, you'd get a hold of one of the few gym mats that were lying around and, you know, find a spare spot, or you'd make really good friends with someone who managed to secure a spot themselves. Now, it got surprisingly cold at night on the high seas, which is something I didn't know about and I didn't really plan for since, you know, all our luggage was in the hull. So I was just stuck in short shorts and apparently with my dick hanging out, so I was very cold. Now, there was obviously a lot of water lapping up onto the deck, and any smart person would have quickly claimed, you know, the few dry spots on the ground, but I'm an idiot, and instead I focused on doing this. At this point, it was getting really cold and all the good sleeping spots had been taken, but I managed to get creative and realized I could sleep on the edge of this wooden pallet if I just kind of squeezed myself under the ropes that were holding the stack of solar panels in place. And after a night of sliding back and forth and like constantly waking up to my head hitting the edge of the boat, you know, the sun was shining and it was our turn to cook for everyone, and I love cooking. Honestly, I felt pretty great. For a couple of minutes. It turns out what I was tasting in that moment was stomach bile, and I'd completely...
I'll give it to him. This is pretty hard to do for someone like me or him or, you know, some random person. Go out on a fishing boat and wonder what's going to happen to you. It's definitely tough.
Emptied my inside.
I'll give it to him.
Now,
he's doing a good job.
24 hours on the boat at this point, and I somehow convinced myself that I had some kind of like genetic immunity to seasickness, but I mean, obviously I was wrong.
Sub GY.
Either that or like the stress of the trip had cultivated some kind of reverse bulimia where I had to vomit.
Very much so, just hoping you can hold it together for 5 days.
Just in time, eh?
But I couldn't keep any food down. Once the seasickness set in, it was actually horrible. Like, it was so bad. It felt like you were hungover.
This is probably the worst experience of Dude Man's life, bro. Everything about this was probably horrible for him.
You're also forced to be on like this 600-kilometer long roller coaster.
So fucking funny.
And it's not like one of those cool roller coasters where you get to have fun and kiss. It's like a roller coaster where you also have to do chores the whole time. Like even just getting a cup of water is so hard. Like it involves like tightrope walking and like washing dishes and squats. It was actually fucked. Like I was just counting down the 72 hours until we landed, just praying it would all stop. And I guess my wish kind of came true because it was that moment that the engine died. It turns out it was probably a faulty alternator, so everyone was scrambling for solutions, right? Like some people were trying to jerry-rig one of the solar batteries that we were taking to Cuba while
What's the destination? They're going to Cuba with humanitarian aids, commodities, products to give to the people. This is it, and I'm assuming... I actually missed this piece of context if there were other ships a part of it or not. I assume there was.
Other people tried to set up an old generator to power the battery, and I was trying to address the issue by just continuously vomiting over the edge of the boat, but none of that fixed the alternator. So we were all out of
One other
ideas.
ship?
We were just stuck there, you know, just floating aimlessly in the middle of the ocean for hours and not getting any closer to Cuba. But it was kind of nice. I mean,
yeah, but that's less
without
sexy.
The deafening noise of the engine, it was a little bit easier to just lie perfectly still and ignore the seasickness. You know, I kind of feel like I reached a level of zen in that moment because I didn't realize at all that we were about to be boarded by the military.
Dun dun dun.
I woke up, tried to work out what was happening, but everyone I spoke to was confused. I went to my laptop and realized that my very special strategy of uploading everything online was a complete failure. I had like half a terabyte of footage and literally...
I was gonna, like, shouldn't you be trickle uploading it and not waiting?
None of it was uploaded. I should have guessed by the fact that it took about an hour to just like check the news every day. But yeah, my footage wasn't backed up anywhere. And obviously, you are watching the
left
right
is not
now,
setting
so
their best on this
I managed
mission.
to save it somehow. But in the moment, I thought it was game over. So for the sake
So
of immersion,
funny.
I need you to
It's
pretend
so
that
funny.
You're not watching this video right now. You're thinking about this happening.
Hope it's one of the nice Navy ships.
What do you reckon? It'll look friendly?
I think it's smiling. I don't understand what's happening. He's like a shark. He came from that side, now he's coming around there, and it looks like he's going to turn around this way as well. Just circling us until we get hungry and beg for mercy.
Thankfully, it was a false alarm. It turns out the captain had sent out a distress signal when the motor broke, and since we were in Mexican waters, a Mexican Navy ship came by to help us out. And after an hour or so, the
All right,
engine was back
Mexico,
on.
I see you. Let's go.
Now, this would have been a relief because it meant we were back on track to arrive in Cuba in 3 days, but I had a chat with one of the Mexican Navy guys, and he said something completely different.
The Navy man just said if we need 5 days to get to Cuba, and our crew says we need 3.
Yeah, he's counting the days because he really doesn't want to be here anymore.
And we have like half a alternator.
So
oh, he's
It might be
suffering.
3 days, but it also might be 5, and also it might be even longer depending on how many times we break down and
So
whether we
funny.
can fix the problem at all. And the entire time I'll either be vomiting or worrying about dying or going to jail. Like, I kind of felt like I was in hell.
So on the day before interception came, the boat I was on Sumut Flotilla broke 4 times. It was 4 times engine failures. And when the engine stopped, it would be a noise like beep. So it was easy.
So this is easy.
It's not easy, but it's something like you kind of get used to. And if you want the mission to keep on moving, you just gotta take a light mood and.
Yeah, and you can't even be associated with any of this shit. You know, if you're exchanging money, you can't be associated with any of this shit. You know.
Make it work again. That's it.
But look, whatever I'd been doing for the whole trip obviously wasn't working. So I thought, you know, I might try this like weird new South American thing called being happy.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know if dolphins know how cool they are or not, but they should. I don't think I'd enjoy all this
So, yeah,
socializing.
This new strategy was working out surprisingly well.
I would just want to
Until
sit on my
nighttime, because
phone
it was
or
my
whatever.
turn on the roster to stay up and stand guard as the night watchman. You see, on the Gaza flotilla, they'd get attacked by drones at night, dropping bombs, starting fires, or even spraying weird, like, harsh chemicals. It was up to me to wake everyone up if we were being attacked. But here's the problem, right? You look at this light in the sky, and you tell me whether that's a star or a passenger
There you go.
plane or a drone about to bomb us. Like, the sky is full of these things, and there's no decision that I can make here that isn't incredibly embarrassing.
I just don't think that the situation bringing aid to Gaza is equivocable to what we're doing here in Cuba. And I understand, like, in many ways it is bigger picture, but, like, I think the risks here are getting turned away and escorted away, or, you know, getting your stuff taken away. Like, I think there's very little actual, like, maybe I'm bugging, but the way this is framed makes me think, like, obviously it's for fun, but I just want to say it's much more dangerous to go to Israel than it is to go to Cuba if you're just a random boat full of goods.
Right? Either I'm the idiot who woke everyone up because he saw a star, or I'm the idiot who didn't warn everyone that we were about to get bombed. It was kind of shit either way, but I guess maybe it didn't matter.
Our control over Cuba
I
is
realized that
largely
if I do
economical.
get hit by a drone strike, I won't even know what happens. You know, I'll just be gone. It kind of made me wonder if any of the fishermen over the past year have been in this exact same spot, thinking the exact same thing, like thinking they might be seconds away from being hit. You know, they're thinking about their family and all the things they've done in their life, and just, you know, praying that God will accept them into the crystal clear waters and sunny skies of fisherman's heaven. Like, it's funny to look back at it now, but I honestly
Is this
thought
fisherman
I would
heaven?
die.
Babes just fishing?
It's fucking crazy.
Is that what they
Like, this
want?
video
Is that what fishermen want? I didn't know that. I thought they wanted fish.
such a massive risk, like not just for my own life, which, you know, I'm very attached to, but even just the fact that, you know, chances are we'd get intercepted and I wouldn't even have any of this footage at the end anyway. And the only way I can actually take these risks is thanks to our supporters on our Patreon. Thanks to you guys, I can take these bigger risks and make more important videos, right? And because I know the community is going to have my back if anything goes wrong. And outside of that, this is by far the most expensive video I've ever filmed. It costs a stupid amount of money to pull this off. So if you want to help us out with future videos like this, jump on the link in the description, and just for $5 a month, you can get a full-length exclusive video every month. Even if you hate me, it's worth $5 a month just to convince me to, you know, keep trying to kill myself. So it's a win-win for everyone. Like, you should just do it. Now,
You hear
the
that,
rest of the day is
chatters?
on the boat, we're all jiggled and jiggled together into one long haze. The sun comes up, It's on one side of the boat.
Why is it just like a woman fishing? Why is that like the dream of man? That's so bizarre to me. Women don't dream of like men doing like skincare routines. Which is weird.
And then a little while later, it comes down.
Heteronormatively.
The other. You wake
Forgive
up
me.
sleeping on a pile of ropes, wearing the same clothes you wore for the past 3 days. You try to distract yourself from the fear by, filling up your day reading, playing Uno. The boat keeps rocking. Your mate Claudio, the 80-year-old Italian journalist, burns himself on the chimney. So
Him's got a leg up there.
You eat, you sing.
That's all. I'll leave it there. If I was doing a flotilla, I would ban stringed instruments straight up. I would.
Try to work out if that new ship on the horizon is going to board you. You wash yourself with a dangly exhaust hose that cools the engine, and then you're told we'll be arriving in Cuba tomorrow morning. The sun goes down on one side of the boat, and then it comes up on the other, and you wake up on a soggy gym mat in the same clothes you've been wearing for 4 days. And then you're told you're arriving in Cuba tomorrow morning, and the same thing happens the next morning. I honestly started to think maybe we had already been drone struck and we didn't even realize it, right? We were now in purgatory, and this was just our life for all eternity.
Excellent.
Then one night, a bunch of tiny islands pop up on the radar, and in the morning, they pop up on the actual horizon. But I've been in purgatory today, so I don't fully believe my eyes.
According to this, not in Cuba yet. No land. I don't trust it. I think the Americans are gonna intercept us. It's too exciting. Don't sail towards it. It's a trap.
We decided to climb up on the roof and make sure these Cuban mountains were real.
You know what this place needs?
What?
The KFC. The KFC and some Trump towers.
Yeah, I think an Amazon fulfillment center would be nice.
They didn't say CVS though. You see that?
I look at that.
See, that's a paid sponsorship from CVS to not mention them.
Unrealized, potential.
I see it all.
Yeah. Seeing land is so special to me because it means I get to poo, a bed, a shower, a ground that doesn't move.
This guy has completely lost sight of the point of the mission. So funny. He's like, I need to poo.
It turns out nothing was definitely going to happen because we just got news that a US ship had just moved to the outskirts of Havana.
You heard about the US ship outside of Havana?
Yeah, I'm telling you, if those Americans stop us, I will lose my mind. They could have stopped us at any point in this trip. They could have stopped us before we all threw up. They could have stopped us before we all spent 3 days in our own sweat and piss.
These are deeply unserious yet entertaining people. I love
It turns out
it.
Cuba is a really, really long country. So that
No,
US
they're
ship in
cool.
Havana will have to wait while we just sail along the coast for another 2 days. Until one night at 3 a.m., we saw some lights. It was so weird looking at Havana, like after staring at the sea for days. It dawned on me that we were actually going to make it now, which was a relief, but it was also incredibly sad because Havana's enormous, right? Looking at the size of this city, spanning the entire coastline up to the horizon, I couldn't help but be terrified by the concept that there are millions of people in there that are living without the basic necessities of life. Well, I guess at least we made it. This Coast Guard was the first Cuban I spoke to. He asked if I'd been to Cuba before, and when I told him I came 14 years ago...
Oh, look how happy he is. Look at his face. Aw.
He asked if I'd been to Cuba before, and when I
What
told
a
him
cool
I came
guy.
14 years ago, he immediately told me I probably have a 13-year-old kid here. And I was honestly a little bit embarrassed to know that my kid's first impression of me will be this, a guy that looks like absolute shit, but whatever. We made it back to experience this brutal communist dictatorship once again.
All right, let's see
A
it.
giant statue of Jesus.
No expression allowed
Maybe
here.
it'll be okay after all.
Yeah.
We need to look for the things we have in common.
Yeah, we all love Jesus. There's a lot of people there.
Yeah, your dad, hey.
Yeah, I was so sure I was getting on a boat to nowhere. Oh, what a horrible thought. Just lying there the first time, be like, I'm gonna die. Oh, llegamos.
I was so excited to finally end the seasickness, but no one told me about the
Where's the
land
toilet?
I was so fucking dizzy, man.
It's a wobbly land.
This
This is what happens with a destabilized country.
I was so disorientated and thirsty and confused, but one thing I knew for sure is that these Cuban delegates were about to shake hands with the stinkiest people they've ever met.
Gracias por invitarnos.
As soon as I got off the boat, I feel how disgusting and stinky and stinky I am. It's like there's just like a different sense of stickiness. But I just like 10 seconds ago, I was like, oh,
This dude's high. I'm sorry. He smoked a doobie. I'm sorry. I know. Game recognized game.
normal. As soon as I get on land, I'm like,
part of the marine
I'm covered in
ecosystem.
gel. I'm like a fucking slug.
I feel more like a shell.
Oh, yours is crispy?
Yeah, mine's
wet.
right off.
Mine's so,
Nice, you're going
so
salamander.
Yeah.
Crazy how much your mind ignores when you're on the boat. Like on land, I need a shit so bad. Like my whole body's just fucking.
So stupid.
Right now.
But it turns out we'd have to wait a few more hours before we could do any of that because all these people had come down at sunrise to welcome us.
When do I get to do a poo? I need to do a poo.
Now, I didn't realize at this point, but we also needed to unload the 30 tons we'd loaded up in Mexico before we could get any relief. But it was done, and we finally checked into our hotel room. We were staying at Hotel Presidente, one of the many kind of affordable stays.
He's like, all right, skipping the loading part. It's now the pooping time.
Hotels in Havana.
The main
the
theme of
special
this
thing
is
about
poo.
This place is that the US government won't let you stay here if you're a US citizen. You have to go to a private hotel, or else you could face up to a penalty of 10 years in prison and $1 million fine. But I'm Aussie, so I don't have to worry about that. All I need to worry about now is having a shit and a shower. And even though the energy crisis meant that there was no hot water and occasionally there was no water at all, it was still 1,000,000 times better than the boat, and I felt relaxed for like the first time in a week, until I checked my phone.
You know what the Pentagon's new operation for Latin America is called? Operation Total Extermination. What the fuck? Operation Doing What the Devil Says. Why would you call it that?
Total it's not very diplomatic.
Makes you a little bit scared being here. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Total extermination, but I'm here.
It's just so lame, hey? It's just so obviously just a computer game playing kid.
Oh, that's us.
Suddenly too much power.
But if I thought the news on my phone was bad, it was even worse on Dan's phone when he tried to access his bank account.
You're blocked from online services because you're in a sanctioned country. Or
Hey, I'll get that VPN for.
region. And then I'm like, oh, well, like I need to buy a sandwich. See details. We are obliged to manage our international sanctions risk, so you cannot buy a sandwich.
That's so nice that a random fucking Australian bank will just like get rid of your account.
Yeah.
If you do anything.
You cannot do anything. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I'll go and get a VPN.
Uh-oh. But?
And then look, like, I tried to download this one.
Oh.
The App Store is unavailable.
Oh,
in the
okay,
country.
fair enough.
You got fucked.
Yeah, I can't use VPN. All I want.
I guess you'd have to go and get it and be a nerd and know how that works, but fair enough. I see his point.
It's a sandwich. I'm sanctioned.
That sucks for you, dude.
Won't you spot me something? Come on.
I got my VPN on time.
The whole video. The whole video. The whole embargo was part of a Surfshark ad. The revolution, the embargo, the blockade, this video, the flotilla, everything was a
Look at
VPN ad.
Cuba's a communist country. That's why things are so bad right now. I'm going to learn from Cuba's mistakes.
You're just sanctioning me as
No,
well.
you know what? I think the value of money to you is actually so much more than it is to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to loan you the money.
Uh-huh.
If you want $5 now, you have to give me $50 in a month.
Right. It's like a World Bank loan.
Yeah. You have to change. You have to restructure some of this stuff.
A little bit of changes. I'd like you to organize your wallet.
Yeah.
A little bit of financial management.
Now, to be fair, even if
Friend shared
Dan was allowed
internet.
to access
There you
his
go.
bank account, pretty much all the ATMs are down because of the energy shortages. So since I'm the guy who, took out money before the trip and, I need Dan to hold the camera and not be dead, I decided I won't let him starve for now. But anyway, the rest time was over and we had to find our way to the hospital to hand off all the aid that we brought. So the problem was that the hospital was like 10 kilometers away and it's incredibly difficult to get a taxi with barely any fuel in the country. But luckily, with the help of a world famous soccer player called Xi Jinping, Cuba set up a factory just outside of Havana pumping out thousands of these electric tuk-tuks, in response to the US cutting off all fuel from the
Tuk-tuks?
country. It was pretty strange getting our first actual glimpse of Cuba. The streets were so empty compared to 14 years ago, and because the fuel blockade made driving nearly impossible, you had to go for all these weaker vehicles that used renewable energy, like, you know, these 2 horsepower tuk-tuks. Or
I would take a city built on tuk-tuks over the American SUV fucking fever dream I'm a part of now. Now, I understand we're on the same side, me and this feller, but the average person would look at these little vehicles that fit a couple people in them and drive them around like taxis, you know, these micro form vehicles, and they'd be like, well, what the hell? You know, this isn't solving anything. I think that it's closer to a wholesome reality than what the fuck we do.
1 horsepower.
Suck on that.
But we finally arrived.
What's up, Cheeseburger? Yeah, I was responding to your posts on Discord earlier. You might have to go back and watch it.
Hospital that specializes in cardiovascular care, and it honestly felt surreal seeing all this aid reach its destination. And something tells me the nurses couldn't believe it either. For the past couple of months, all
unsafe and uncomfortable. But what's more unsafe? A tuk-tuk going 25 miles per hour that has a few people in it going through a city, or a fucking Ford Expedition, you know, doing 65 electric? I think what people are, what I'm trying to say, not people, what I'm trying to say is that tuk-tuks are not good. But what's the wild thing is like, you can't even talk about that without mentioning how bad we do it in contrast. You know, like the way we do it in at least my country and our cities is shocking, to the point where I would beg for these little vehicles that actually cart people around, instead of the insane reality that it's just wall-to-wall traffic of huge vehicles in my country. So I agree with you. Electric vehicles, more public transportation, tuk-tuks suck. I think our reality here in the US is like so perverted that like even like developing nation solutions or impoverished nation solutions, they look almost more noble than the way we do it. Yeah.
Somehow the only thing I actually thought about was the flotilla as a political stunt, right?
100%.
Getting on the boat and exposing to the
Put my baby in a SUV so she doesn't get hurt.
Cuba, and hopefully, you know, inspiring people and governments around the world to take action. But I didn't actually think about
or if you need the bed for work, for wherever you are, but yeah.
There are children in this hospital whose lives are going to be dramatically
Trucks are
affected by
just
this, you know, 30 tons of food, medicine, and solar panels that we filled our little
I'm
boat
with you.
And honestly, I hadn't thought about the real world impact of that.
Es algo maravilloso. Nos hacía falta, nos hacía falta. Ay Dios, ahora me lo vengo sabiendo desde hace antes lo anunciaron y me despertó ahí.
Gracias a ustedes por venir. Ustedes están haciendo una cosa. Miren, no es solo lo que ustedes aporten. Están arriesgándose, vienen aquí a que después lleguen allá y lo puedan crear problemas.
Do you see what they're saying? I feel like I should read this in case you're listening. I'm going to go back. So right now he's just now starting to talk to some Cubanos that like want to use the aid that was brought here. So like hospital workers. I'm just going to maybe read some of this.
I hadn't thought about the real world impact of that.
Es algo maravilloso.
She says, you've done something marvelous and that we needed it. We really needed it. Oh God, we needed it. I found out you guys were coming 2 days ago. And it felt like I woke up from a nightmare. That was this woman who said this in the mask with the purple dress on, or purple shirt on. She said it felt like a nightmare when they got any amount of foreign aid in, even just a couple of boats full of just a couple of things for them. Pretty nuts. She says, thank you for coming, guys. You really did it. It's not just that you brought aid, but you took a big risk coming here as well. Later when you get home, they might create problems for you and try to put you in prison. You can't put a price on what you've done. Thank you for what you're doing. This is somebody who understands the situation because she lives it every day. It's not like she just decided to open Wikipedia or read a book about it or watch a doc. You know, she lives it every day. She understands that it's not motivated. Most people aren't motivated to come here and bring anything. And if it's going to take dorky YouTubers and like news people that like want to like help out in their own ways to kind of do their own thing, if that's what it takes to get some stuff in here, she'll still thank you from the bottom of her heart. I mean, shit. This is what people that are desperate like look and sound like when you help them.
It was actually so nice seeing where all our aid was going, but it felt like a drop in the water.
Cherry-picked, but I digress.
Was running out of everything from like
doesn't matter
to medical machines to simple things like gauze and bandages.
He says in a normal hospital in any other country in the world, they make a report and say this equipment broke. The private sector comes and said this part costs this much and you order it immediately. In our case, it's not like that. Interesting. We have to make a contract to see if it's selling if selling it to Cuba is prohibited, so everything becomes more expensive. He's describing what it's like to run a hospital. Like if your X-ray machine breaks, like you have to quite literally not just negotiate sales with other nations that do things completely differently than you. You have to negotiate that nation's ability to do business elsewhere. You have to think in like 5D chess to run a hospital. And that's what he's trying to encapsulate. You can't just do business with anybody. You have to actually think about it long term. He says we do open heart surgery. We do lots, you need lots of resources. It's very hard to do here. He says we have money, but we can't use it because many banks do not accept our money. And this is a hospital staff. And I ask you, is it because these people are terrorists? Is it because these people did genocide and caused war? It's because they dared to stand up for themselves and overthrow the oppressors and take control of their own government. That is why they're being punished like this.
It's like one of the many issues that they have.
Don't forget who's responsible. It's us, Americans. Directly or indirectly, it's us. We have to be very mindful of fuel usage. The hospital has to ration fuel. Outpatient clinic. Because the fuel has to be saved for the intensive care unit, right? You're basically talking about a hospital that is rationing fuel and making people are dying because of it. You know, more people than if they had access to the same resources as everybody else in the world. Just understand that. Like, this is kind of what we're here for. This video. And these are normal people. Look at them. They're all normal. They're just like you and I. I'm just saying. It's sad and meaningless? Sure. Well, make sure you understand it's not meaningless. Very meaningful. Very meaningful. And it's if you understand this premise, you'll understand the reform versus revolution idea. You can't fix that which is not broken. Capitalism is very much so not broken. It is working intentionally and by design, and this is what it does. This is what history has shown us capitalism does. So we just want, I'm not trying to critique you, but I just want to be clear here. It's meaningful for the imperialists, right? For all of this, sure, it is exactly as you describe. No, I got it. Exactly. I got it. But it's not meaningless. We have to understand that people do things for a reason. And in this case, the American imperial class, bourgeoisie class through their imperial interests this far in capitalism, it's very obvious why they want to starve Cuba. Because Cuba dares to not kneel. It's funny, like, you know, you can see the remnants of the previous mode of production in each successive mode of production. And here you're talking about kings and people that are not bowing the knee. And this is what happens. They have no fuel for hospitals. So part of the flotilla is to get clips like this and to have people communicate what it's like. I get that. But that's good. More people should hear this. She says the truth is we're listen to this. She says the truth is we're working like we're a country at war, but there are no bombs. Think about that. They're literally in war mode, but they're not attacking anybody. They're not defending anybody. They're just being starved. And you can see they take great care in providing hospital conditions as best they can. Like that's one of their specialties.
I really don't understand how anyone's surviving here. I mean, the blackouts mean that the doctors have to operate the respirators by hand throughout the night. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I can't actually see how they're going to keep this going over the next few days, like, let alone months or years. But the wild part is, even in the middle of this crisis, Cuba's still dedicated to making life-saving care available to everyone.
She says all the tests, everything associated with my care, everything is free. I haven't had to pay for anything. And really, you know, and it's kind of hard to proceed if you're not willing to accept this, that science has shown us this, economic science, philosophy has shown us this, cultural science has shown us this, studying how we act as people in our traditions. But to take care of people's health is a good thing. And to get and to put things in between that simple notion is to introduce contradiction and to essentially deviate from the purpose of the state, the purpose of the government, the purpose of the people putting their time together to make it all work together. So understand that she's just describing healthcare, that everything is free, right? But this is a country that is like extremely pressed for money, fuel, respect, resources, diplomacy, relief, everything you can imagine. They are starved for everything, yet they still refuse to allow people to rape their citizenry in the sense of not providing basic care for their health. It's just shocking, the difference in philosophy between a country that has, you know, gone through it and has dealt with the contradictions and kind of lived the pain and the joy of that versus one that just continues to propagate imperialism. Now, I understand ultras will be quick to tell you that Cuba has relented a lot of its socialist tendencies recently, and the truth is, that's true. That doesn't make them not socialist. That doesn't make them not smart. That doesn't make them not anything other than a socialist country taking care of their people. But they have changed some of the free market things to appease the people starving them. What's the end game here for Cuba? How do they survive this? I don't think it really matters how do they survive, other than they put all their effort into surviving it. Now, with that in mind, how do they survive it? Well, if you can break U.S. hegemony or you can create another hyperpower, it is different. I'd like to remind people what Cuba was like before the fall of the Soviet Union, where they had another guy on the field with a big set of fucking biceps that liked them. Different ball game. Different ball game. Right? You cannot be an ideologue when that reality hits. And in reality, in this case, is bombs, shortage of fuel, shortage of trade opportunities, and a decaying society. That's what reality is. And Americans, I can speak for my country only. We don't know what struggle is if it hit us in the face. We have no idea what it looks like. I always tell people I'm a Westoid leftist. I don't know what struggle is. All I can do is opine from afar and act as an ally and shut the fuck up when people that live in the global south or live through these times have something to say. The factors are external to them. Hoping U.S. hegemony falls apart is a long bet, but there's not... Well, so hold on, cheeseburger. Right. So you're asking what else can they do? And the answer is... In fact, let's not go with an answer. Let's go with a question. Is there anything you think they could do? And then maybe we could talk about that. Instead of me being like, oh, that's stupid, I'll talk about why maybe that's harder than you think or something, or maybe you'll come to the conclusion there's not a whole lot they can do. Is there anything you think Cuba could do to get out of this? Everyone's an ideologue, but liberals pretend not to be one. It's a tough one, folks. I think the safest thing to understand is that regardless of what you know about socialism and capitalism or anything else, you go to work and somebody takes most of your money. It's not taxes. It's not taxes. It's capitalism. It's profit margins being allowed. It's your literal labor is being partitioned up before you even understand it. Please call me Blue. What's going on? They need external support. They could probably be pursuing independent energy security. Yeah, so they're getting tons of solar panels from China right now, if that helps. Yeah. Yep. But the truth is, everything's based on gas in most nations. And it's only really recently have they started to get most of their infrastructure off of it. Some use nuclear, blah, blah, blah. But spoiler, Cuba doesn't have a strong nuclear industry. So what they're doing is they are transitioning by help of China China doesn't really care about the restrictions per se. They can just sneak shit in. What are they going to do? The U.S. is kind of between a rock and a hard place. That's precisely what they're doing. But the truth is, this blockade could last another 50 years for all we know. I don't know. I can't predict the future. And they have to keep taking care of people and trying to survive. They're getting external supports from Russia and China. Yeah, in fact, that's a good point. Is, you know, we talk about this blockade of fuel, but it is the truth that Russia just ran a tanker right in there and gave it to them, or sold it to them, right? Just right through. So, like, it is worth pointing out that there are a few anti-U.S. interests that still do business with Cuba, and in fact, Cuba is very reliant on them. Obviously, Russia has a link with the previous centuries, being a key player in the Soviet Union and the close alliance with Cuba there, but contemporary imperialist Russia still has a lot of interest in Cuba's success. It's literally on the doorstep of the U.S. and it's anti-U.S. It's not campus to point that out. Canada should airdrop some CANDU reactors. Canada can't, though, because Canada would suffer, and that's the point of this video. These Cubans are highly aware of that. Every last one of them knows that to help them implies to hurt yourself. Canada can't just give them shit without U.S. absolutely throwing a fucking hissy fit. It is. It is. I guess another example could potentially be something like Japan or South Korea, but I think it's even more apparent with Cuba because China is just not like us. They don't do this. And now we're going to talk about China. Canada loves the genocidal blockade. They do. Canada was founded on genocide. They support genocide. And quite frankly, if you want to say, is Canada better than the U.S., fine. But that's literally, it's meaningless. Such a meaningless statement. Mexico has been depriving its own citizen to gift away to Cuba because Mexico is based as fuck. Mexico has very strong collectivist politicians, like minded politicians, you know? They literally just invented a national car for like a couple thousand pesos, right? Mexico is based as fuck. Let's not forget, you know, that these people in another timeline would have made a much better go of this settler colonialist experiment that is the Americas after the indigenous people were fucking exterminated. We have Carney. We were talking about Bin Face earlier. 3 telecoms in a trench coat. It's a fantastic book about Canadian exceptionalism, Canada in the world by Tyler Shipley. All right, let's do it. All right, whenever people do books from a leftist perspective, I put them on the list. I don't want to wait for my life to be over. That isn't a car, it's illegally a golf cart. You talking, what is that car called? Do you remember what it's called? Let me look it up. Hold on, real quick. We'll go back to the video. I can't remember what it's called. Well, I can't remember what it's called. Also, I can't look it up. Olinio. Is it an Enyo or no? No, it's a Olino. Olinia? Olinia? Olinia. Olinia. Olinina. Olinia. Yeah, this motherfucker is... This is what we need. This is what I'm talking about. Like, how are you going to argue that Mexico's not based as shit? This is like $9 grand. I think it might even be $9 grand. Yeah, I think it's $9 grand. You say it's legally a golf cart? I say I like this. I want this. I want this. I don't want my car. I have a 2004 Honda Accord. It's a sick fucking car. But this is what I want. I want to actually, I want to get rid of my car at some point and just live in New York maybe if I can and take the subway and have a bike like a normal person. You guys don't even know, but like I could do a whole YouTube channel based on the way I drive on the road and the interactions I get. You guys like, oh, I road rage too. It's like fair. I'm not saying I'm worse, but like, let's just say I have way too much fun with it. Then I'll fly into you because of the safety rules. Wait, Kira, you ever see that video of me driving around with the gangster or not? You linked me to X? Oh, fuck. Need that Hexbear bot that like fucking launders it. We're gonna go right back to the video. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. This is like a 2-minute video. It's designed to move 6 people comfortably in low speed and risk setting or to be a portable business. Hell yeah. This was, how long ago was this? This was May 31st. It was that Saturday. Oh, it's not for me. Thank you. Sorry. My bad, my bad. I just have to roast it every time I see it. We're just gonna watch this. This is a couple of minutes video. This is me driving. I'm telling you. I'm just telling you. Like, there's so much content on the road. It's been a while since I watched this. Hey, what's up, Draws? You said OG music? There's like a whole lead up and stuff here too where I'm just literally just driving. Just doing general normal stuff. Don't dox me too hard, by the way. Hey, hell, take care, brother. Sorry to keep you up. It's true, I did. You're right. Anyway, this whole video goes, I was just driving home and this guy came up behind me in a potentially stolen car and like just passed traffic and cut me off, and I decided to pass him back, and that was a huge mistake. Yo, what's up, FG? Oh no, he's like, you're milking it now. No, I haven't played it forever. I want to watch it again. This video makes FG so mad because he's like, yeah, that was. I had homies like that when I was a kid. Fucking punks. Anyway, some guy cuts in front of you at a stoplight and then parks at a green. There he is. There he is. Welcome to America, everybody. People talk about driving in India is terrible. Try driving in America.
Who the fuck you think you are, punk? Come on, come on.
That was a mistake.
Keep going. I ain't stopping for you. I don't know who the fuck you are. I'm good. I don't know what your problem is. I've got a dash cam, bro.
Mistake number 2. Informing him I had a dash cam. Now he's getting out of the car. Any idea what triggered him? So I suspect it was a stolen vehicle. He was with his girl in the car and he was weaving through traffic, wanted to pass me, and he didn't go at the light, and then I just blitzed around him. I don't think he was targeting me. I think he just showed up and then he was too slow to go at the green, so I blitzed around him and then he took it personally.
Yeah.
I got a little story I got to tell. DOS FX. Awesome hip hop
You're scared
group.
now, huh?
What's up, Porkins? I see you on YouTube.
I don't even know what I did to that.
Why did I play with him? I don't know. I'm an idiot. I didn't expect him to be so hard. Check this out. Watch. He's still here.
What do you want? What's wrong with you? You gonna shoot me? Careful! Careful!
Yeah, so he's like, what is a dash cam going to do for you, cousin? Which, to be fair, I didn't realize I was dealing with violence. I thought I was dealing with road rage. So he's like, what is a dash cam going to do for you? Which implies, you know, I could kill you. And then I'm like, what, are you going to shoot me? And he gets back next to me. He says, I could have killed you like 4 times already. Yeah. Dead ass. Thank you. I needed you when I was young, bro. This is my motherfucking dad. He's like 2 years older than me, but he's my dad. I was raised by dumb fucks who said walk up and shake his hand and look him in the eye and say you're sorry. That's probably what they would have said. I use raise loosely. What DA are you driving? I'm on Kashi with plasma. I got a little ThinkPad behind me, old school ThinkPad with Debian 12 on it, which is super fun. So like I'm driving now, just trying to go through traffic, blowing lights, because he's literally still following me and screaming at me. He says slaps your shit out. Yeah, I know. That's the thing though, I ain't tough. But I'm telling, like, this is abnormal, but the road rage is not. The people like that do weird shit on the road and how I instantly react to them. It's bad. Remember one time, I got a story for you. Fuck it. I'll tell another story, then we'll go back to the boy video. All right. I'll tell you one more quick story. We'll talk about Cuba, because, you know, I literally just drank a little bit of tequila, so I'm rambling. So one time I was leaving New York City, right? And the way it kind of works is that you get a lot of these 4-way intersections. This is when I was young. I was bringing my mom to I was picking her up from a hospital. And so the way is like, this was like the Holland Tunnel was this way. And this goes back to like New Jersey, Pennsylvania, where I'm from. So that's where I wanted to go. And so I was like coming from this way. And this is all one way. So I'm coming this way like this. And as I'm doing this, this dude is trying to go from here, right? And there's some zipper merging going on, and there's some not zipper merging. I decided I was not going to zipper merge, and he decided that he was going to zipper merge, right? And I can't really describe what happened without laughing a little bit, but I guess, well, first of all, our car is touched, and we're going 1 mile an hour and or stopping. First of all, I have a family member in the car who is injured, and I'm being a fucking clown. I was very young, by the way. I was a teenager. But what happened is he went here and I went here, and all of a sudden our cars are touching, and I'm like, I'm still going, and then he does this on the curb, and now he's 2 tires on the curb, and like I'm here in the lane now, and like he's screaming at me, and I'm like looking at him. I'm like, I'm here. Dude, it was absolutely unhinged. But anyway, I remember actually making physical contact with this guy's car, and like absolutely nothing happening because of it. I'm not saying I was right. I'm not at all telling you that I was in the right. Maybe this guy did everything perfectly and I'm the bad guy here. I'm just trying to say that this is some fucking normal ass shit when you're driving. And you just don't give a fuck. You'll meet one other guy, one other girl that doesn't care as well, and then weird shit happens. Weird shit happens. Anyway, back to Cuba. Just ignore bro to death. No, how the fuck are you, bro? I RSVP'd to your stupid silly wedding. I'm excited as hell. I asked my girl, I was like, you want beef chicken or some other shit? And she's like, I want chicken. I'm like, well, I already put in beef because I'm a fucking misogynist. Spooky, what's up, dude? That's when you drive to the police station? Yeah. There wasn't anyone like super close, I think, and I was like out of gas and my car was wobbly, and like I was honestly scared he was gonna shoot at my car and just try to scare me more, you know? Please call me Blue. Good to see you. Are you a Linux user? Do you play Eve? What's your story? I'm very excited, by the way, Noah. Hey, Spooky, have a wonderful evening. We're kind of drifting around a little bit here, but I just want to say this has been the most important part of the video for me by far, the part where we're hearing the Cubans, very aware of who they're talking to, by the way, describe what the situation is and try to make some propaganda to persuade us to actually do something about this. So thank you for them. To them.
I mean, the fact that they still managed to keep healthcare free during this humanitarian crisis made me feel a little bit hopeful, right? Until I stepped outside and got a taste of reality. It turned out that one of the members of our flotilla, Tiago, had been arrested while flying home on his connecting flight.
Oh no, Tiago.
I think the interrogation is so funny when like the entire thing is broadcast almost live, you know? Like, what were you doing? It's like, well, there's documented the entire time.
Look at my Instagram.
Yeah.
Right after that, we heard that the other 2 boats from earlier in the video were meant to arrive today, but they had completely vanished on the high seas.
Just on the phone with the Mexican authorities, they're launching like a search and rescue thing because no one knows where the 2 sailboats went.
Holy shit.
Wow.
So they are trying to find them.
But is there a worry that something happens?
Oh, that's scary.
It might just be taking some time.
But there was literally nothing we could do about either of those things, but, you know, sit and be scared. So we decided to walk around the hospital, and we bumped into this nice Swiss man, Franco Caval. He happens to be one of the best oncologists in the world. Like this man wrote the textbook on medical oncology. No, it was him. I checked. He's the guy who wrote it. As a world-renowned oncologist, he's particularly upset that Cuba is, you know, blocked off from accessing vital cancer medications that he helped create, right? So he spends much of his free time visiting Cuba and trying to help, but
Sorry for the
he
volume.
struggles to find any European company that dares to do business with Cuba because they're so scared of the Americans.
Actinomycin is an important drug in the treatment of many
I bet.
in children. Cuba was buying that in the past. There were worldwide 3 companies producing that. 2 of the companies were bought by the 3rd one, which is an American company. So for years, children with cancer in Cuba didn't have that drug because the US company didn't sell that. So that's one example, but there are very many.
But it's not just humanitarian doctors like Franco that visit Cuba. Apparently, Western big pharma CEOs are coming here too.
They were a little bit interested because Cuba
Where are you
has
from, GY?
an important research part.
Yeah.
And they have developed also a couple of interesting drugs, which were then bought
Wow.
by
Wait, we have a base German chatter here? Hold on. Oh, you know what it is? I just realized what it is. It's because he hasn't tried to make any jokes yet. I've been trying to explain this to German people. Like, you're the coolest motherfucker around if you're like leftist adjacent or at least interested in politics, right up until you make a joke. And then all of a sudden, I don't understand anything that's happening anymore. You're not really left, but yeah, regardless. But you're talking to us and you're hanging. But the joke is the lore is like when German people make jokes, like I just can't get it. And I feel like they're making fun of me. And it's my fault, but
also a couple of interesting drugs,
hey,
which were then bought by Western companies. I know from a very important CEO of a very important pharmaceutical company who came incognito to Cuba. Nobody was allowed to tell that he was going to see what they are searching for.
So I'm standing there on the street talking to a world-renowned cancer researcher, and he's telling me that, you know, big pharma executives are entering Cuba secretly to like collaborate on research projects without the US government knowing. But it's all just kind of like difficult to believe, right? How does a Caribbean country, you know, it's blocked off from trading with the world, how do they become a biomedical powerhouse making insane discoveries like, you know, the world's only meningococcal B vaccine and luring big pharma execs with these breakthroughs? And, you know, all the other Caribbean countries, they're still stuck researching who that guy was who let the dogs out. It just doesn't make sense. So the next day, we decided to visit the
Hey, live your
Neuroscience
life.
Institute.
Point
to
is,
see
I like you.
how
You're
it's possible
cool.
that Cuba's pumping out all these medical breakthroughs under siege. Now, this institute was on the other side of town.
That's just
so we were
right
facing
wing.
the same problem we'd face multiple times a day in Cuba.
I suspect that this person may have some off the wall worldviews. But what I'm trying to say is that I like how you're hanging out with us. You're having a good time. Normally we say when you can't commit to left or right, you're just right wing. But I almost imagine, like, I feel like you're on like Jupiter. I get the sensation that your politics are like the equivalent of being on Jupiter. But who knows? Maybe you're just a chud. Maybe I'm just sipping on that copium. Anyway, glad you're here for now, I guess.
Finding transportation. Now, after being on land for so long, I was honestly missing the diesel fumes of
I'm
the
an
boat
alien.
engine.
All right,
So
there you go.
I decided to splurge and get a real petrol taxi to take us to the institute. And we're
Live
going there
Fedora.
with our mate Daniel. He's a Cuban journalist working for the independent media outlet Belly of the Beast. They do awesome documentaries and on-the-ground reporting in a place that's always like so saturated with fake news from mainstream media. So you can check him out in the video description. Now, Daniel joined our project as a producer, which is, you know, a stressful job at the best of times, but he was also doing it under the constant threat of being bombed by a foreign country.
Realizing that your future, the future of those around you, ends up depending on, you know, individual decisions of people that, in all honesty, couldn't give two shits about any of you.
Hey, wow, this is awesome content.
Yeah.
It's daunting.
Yeah, sounds terrifying.
The idea of violence and the idea of an armed invasion running through my mind. You know, I keep having nightmares about it.
Yeah.
If they start bombing, I'm dead. A lot of people are aware that this is a real possibility, and those who are thinking.
You keep your charge of opinions. Smartest. This might be the smartest shot I've ever met in my entire life. I don't know what they fed this guy, but I love it. Using Linux, true. Yeah, so what I would say is don't restrict yourself to Fedora. Fedora's cool, but don't restrict yourself. I say try Kashi, try Mint, try Fedora, try some of those. Yeah. The reason I say try other things besides Fedora is Fedora is cool. However, it's not on my recommended list for first timers. A few things about it that make me a little hesitant to say that. However, if you like, for whatever reason, the history and the FOSS the FOSS like binding doctrine that like they use, the upstream idea of being upstream of red hot products, like sure. But I like Fedora. I just not the recommended for first timers. My opinion. My opinion.
Like, there's not a single one that would say, "Hey, yeah."
But if you got it working, good job.
Like, you know, that's not a thing. Like, you could find someone that tells you,
yeah, if it works, it works.
Sure, I hope the government changes, right? But bombs and bullets, they have no names. You know, once the shooting starts, no one's stopping and say, "Oh, let's see if this guy was a communist."
After that fun chat in the taxi, we finally got the Neuroscience Institute to meet up with Dr. Mitchell Valdez Sosa.
Don't panic if there's a power cut.
Okay.
The elevator will have no problem, and we'll just wait.
We can do the interview in the elevator.
All right, yeah.
Perfect.
This.
I'm sorry. Listen to me very carefully. If the power cuts while I'm in an elevator, there's no incantation that one can formulate with one's mouth parts in any language that would make me not panic. Yo, Tana, thank you for coming by. I appreciate you. I wish health upon you, man, and I'll see you next time, man. Have a good sleep.
It was the very first medical equipment manufactured in Cuba, a Cuban computer.
It turns out Cuba became a research hub thanks to this computer and a guy called Erwin
love
Roy
you too,
John,
buddy.
the father of quantitative electroencephalography and neurometrics. And look, I don't know what that means.
Encephalography.
But I was standing in front of a world-renowned scientist, so I just nodded along, right? Now, Erwin Roy John wasn't a fan of Big Pharma, and he was a massive fan of Cuba's universal healthcare system because, he's interested in treating people and not just making products for a company to sell to the highest bidder. So he wanted to do his research here.
Erwin Roy John was fired up with this idea, and he said, I'm going to bring to Cuba some computers with my software for studying the electrical activity of the brain. So of course, when he asked, for the permit, whatever, to export it, they said, oops, that's trading with the enemy. In the meantime...
I just want to be clear here. You are actually being described some of the actual material reasons for why Cuba has such advanced healthcare despite its conditions. Because it created an environment where the actual people doing the inventing and the research and the application, they're allowed to express like their enthusiasm on people that want their help without all the bureaucratic and capitalist bullshit in between it. Like, this is just one part of it, but you're basically being told that, like, one of the reasons we're so advanced is we let people come here and practice fucking medicine and do it scientifically. And we don't divvy it up into fucking a million companies and shareholders and plans and this, that, and the third. We just treat the people and share the knowledge. That's a big part of what this guy's trying to tell you.
Fidel had talked to the university professors and asked them, you guys can make a computer? He said, we can. And looking at the user's manual, they started deducing, if this does this, it has to work in this way in the inside, on the plane. When Roy returned, ashamed, I wasn't able to convince the US government. We said, nope, we have our own computer.
We thought of that.
And that was how the Neuroscience Institute was started. Now, the research Erwin Roy John did here led to breakthroughs like this. And trust me, I Googled it. Like, I don't...
Explain why it's trivial. Some homework.
I don't fully understand it, but they're definitely breakthroughs. And in Cuba, these insights were used to test every child in the country for neurological disorders like epilepsy for free. And in the US,
these kids are so
same
cute.
breakthroughs are used to, charge parents upwards of $22,000 if they want to know if their kid has epilepsy. So it's no wonder Roy John opted to do his world-renowned research in Cuba, even though he knew full well that he would be blacklisted by the US government for doing it. Cuba is the only country in the world that had to develop everything themselves. From the ventilators that saved countless lives during COVID to screening devices for newborns and hearing aids, which by all accounts should be almost impossible to do. Like even in a country like the US, right? One of the biggest biomed industries in the world, they still rely heavily on global supply chains for all their medical treatments, right? No country can function without accessing the things that the rest of the world produces. But cutting off Cuba from the world isn't just cruel to this island nation of 10 million people.
There are people that feel, we're blackout, people that feel.
It's also cruel to everyday Americans who can't access any of Cuba's medical breakthroughs.
It's funny to watch his body. I'm sorry to pause it. Wow, is that Brian Thompson? What the fuck? It's funny to watch his body language. Watch this. This is fascinating to me. I'm not like some guy who studies this or anything. It's just, you're basically watching a professional person who knows, it's actually really relevant to me. He knows that life goes on when the power gets cut. And he knows it's normal here and it sucks, but it's part of being this condition. He knows that nothing's going to happen when the power gets cut off. He also knows that somebody who's not used to that is going to feel bewildered and freaked out by it. You know, and it's almost annoying to him that people have this innate response. So what you watch is like, you see this guy, when it happens, he's like, fucking there's the power. And then this guy, and then our homie, boy, not obviously not boy, but boy, Alexa, he obviously looks around and he's like, well, what the hell's happening here? And this guy looks like, he's like, well, it doesn't matter. Like, I wish I could just convince you it doesn't matter. Watch his expression. Go ahead.
Island nation of 10 million people.
There are people that feel, we're blackout, people that feel.
It's also cruel to everyday.
He tries to get his attention and get right back in front of him as if like it doesn't matter. It's like, it's fascinating.
Americans
Resilient.
who can't access any of Cuba's medical breakthroughs, such as,
Brian
treating early
Thompson.
onset
Whoa!
Alzheimer's or healing diabetic
Oh,
ulcers without
Luigi
having
jump
to-
scare. It's not inherently right-wing, it's just anti-populist. The elite can be a vanguard of socialists. The elite have no material interest in being the vanguard of socialists. They would never do this, say it to Lenin. I mean, I guess at this point, I would offer you to hear what you think. Like, what do you identify as before I respond? Like, what do you fancy yourself? I mean, are we against state here, or what are we against? I mean, being against, I guess I'm not really making current elites. But not through the lens of Marxism, which would focus on class warfare and mode of production. You're just the elites. Like, what is what worldview defines the elite for you? Is I guess what I'd like to ask. You know, because my worldview says the elite are the ruling class that do the oppressing, right? And the elite is not really a problem for me, because if the elite are ran by the proletariat, it's like, well, it helps everybody and we thrive, right? I gotta go pee. I'm just curious, like, what do you know? What guides your understanding of what makes someone elite? Here, I'm gonna leave Luigi up on the screen. It's fucking wild stream today. You doing it again? Also not Luigi, he's innocent. The sad truth, and the truth none of my hexagonal shaped friends want us to hear, and that we've all heard 1,000 times, is that no, didn't help anybody, threw his life away. It's pointless. However, you know, I still root for the guy. I'll say that.
Amputate a limb, which affects you. No,
Adventurism.
It affects you directly. Like, you've been sitting here watching it for over an hour now, and that means that you're much, much more likely to develop type 2 diabetes.
Tens of thousands of amputations in the US and all over the world. The cooperation between the US and Cuba.
With the danger of sounding like 19th century social right wing and economic low. I mean, I don't want to jump all over you. We're only a few people here. We don't have to go crazy, but I mean, I have a feeling I no matter what we say, I have a feeling what this is about. But regardless, what is this? What does economic left mean? This is something I don't hear a lot. And again, I'm not even trying to do a debate. I'm almost trying to like ask you questions about your ideology. Do the Socratic method to see if it falls apart. So if you don't want to keep answering it, so no problem. You could even say that I'm gish galloping, I'm doing too much sea lining, then no problem. I'm just basically trying to avoid a debate. I'm too lazy. He helped people. Insurance companies briefly stopped being on their bullshit. Vroom says allegedly he did help people. It's not an issue of does an adventurous help people. It says does an adventurous help the class. And the resounding historical record of that is in fact the opposite. It galvanizes the structures that make it harder for people to even, you know, use these types of things at the right time as part of an organized thing. I digress. I'm anti-fascist. I'll say that.
Could save.
So I guess I'm going to jail forever.
From amputation, dozens of thousands of people a year. There's no right to harm a country, but you're also harming your own people. It's absurd. It's absurd.
This
Tell
US
him,
policy
Doc.
of suffocation only really
Tell
has
him.
one explanation.
They don't like the Cuban example. This is fractions of a cent. We provide our people with medicines at extremely low prices. In the US, the whole pharmaceutical industry is profit-driven. And
Preach!
This is the gigantic lobby. So this example of socialized medicine and preventive medicine, it doesn't fit into their profit-driven ideas.
Oh!
And they don't like the Cuban example.
Oh, the Cuban example. What a fantastic turn of phrase. The Cuban example, right? Come on. That is what this is all about. America wants everybody to understand that if you do your revolution, you side with the enemy falls by, you know, whatever method you believe happened. Now you're on your own and you're going to pay for it forever. They need to punish the Cuban example. That's what this is all about. And take it from a person who wants to go to Cuba to practice medicine for Cubans. Take it from him, not me.
Been doing this for the past 60 years, and it's crazy to think that these doctors and researchers are still making scientific advancements with like an economic blockade and rolling blackouts. And we were about to experience a really big one that night while we were having beers with our 80-year-old friend Claudio at the hotel.
Beers.
It was pretty freaky, but sadly, this was business as usual for the Cubans, and everyone was ready with emergency torches.
Yeah, also where I live too. Motherfucking power would be dropping for no reason.
And emergency orchestral instruments.
Is someone just playing the flute outside in the middle of the blackout? Oh, there's a car coming. Someone's got a light. This would be so creepy if it wasn't for the flautist.
It turns out some people are even more prepared than the flute player, and they have their own backup generators.
Will our key cards... Oh, there we go. Hey, nice. I was wondering if our key cards will open the lock to the door.
Now, we've never been in a citywide blackout before, so we took this opportunity to scope it out. Occasionally, you'll stumble upon a private business that managed to get a backup generator going, but generally it was just pitch black. Like, I can't imagine going through this multiple days a week. I mean, we barely found our way home in the dark, but we woke up to some even worse news the next morning. Our 2 boats were still missing.
It's quite scary. And then you think of all those songs we were singing.
About dying at sea. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, I hope they're okay.
Yeah, and I think the thing that kind of got me today is that they did a search and there was no one. Oh, there's nothing we can really do.
Yeah.
Just wait and see and hopefully they come down to that harbour over there.
Yeah.
To the end of this street, and then we go give them big hugs.
Now, to get our mind off of our potentially dead friends, we decided to, talk to some people whose lives were comparatively worse to make us feel better. So we went to Centro Havana, one of the poorest parts of the city, to see how everyday people were living under the blockade. We thought the best place to start was at the Community Medical Center to speak to Dr. Roxana. She agreed to chat with us about how the community was dealing with the blockade, but I also realized I had an opportunity to get free healthcare, so I wanted to get that sorted first.
Usted pregunte y aquí estamos para aclarar todas sus dudas y...
Primero tengo una tos.
Roxana, dile la verdad. Dile que tiempo le queda.
Sí, es algo serio.
So apparently there's one of these community...
I would fucking love this in America. Doc, can you imagine walking into a place and having some doctor who wants to be there getting compensated for her time that can help you with your life, and you're not obligated to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars? Can you imagine what that would be like? Granted, a lot of you guys are working professionals, you have your healthcare, but even still, imagine without the healthcare what that would look like. You can do it. You can imagine it. I mean, just imagine this, like the people around you not needing to be held to those standards. You might think because I have these needs met, everybody should be able to do it. But I think many of the people watching now, many of them, not all, understand why that's a bit of a fool's errand. So I guess, you know, at the risk of opening the bag and finding the dead bird, now that you've told me what economic left is, makes sense, I suppose. I've never heard it like phrased like this, but I understand your point. What is social right wing to you? What appeals about being reactionary on social values as opposed to economic values? Maybe you could elaborate. And again, I guess at this point I can't help myself, but you know. Germans do have abysmal politics, so I guess I can't be surprised. The only people with worse politics than Germans largely are like Israelis and US people. That's it. That's it. But also sees the means of reproduction. Women should get back in the kitchen. Yeah, bit of a clash. But truth be told, like I'll hear him out. I mean, social right wing to me means one thing, and it means like the strong belief of like, you know, society is not about collectivism. It's about, you know, how hard we work individually and independently, and it can't be good.
Clinics every couple of blocks in Cuba, and they're actually community doctors, right? They spend half their day in the clinic like a normal GP, then they spend the rest of their day going around doing routine
I'm gonna move to
checkups
Cuba,
at
guys.
people's
Fuck it, I'll go.
So your
I'll
average
go.
Cuban will have a GP visit them every 2 weeks for checkups, not just when they're sick, but like all the time.
Can you imagine
in
that?
Australia, we got so much money and
Fuck me.
resources, but you'll never.
Can you imagine a doctor coming by your crib to follow up on some shit?
ever get that amount of attention from a doctor? Like, I'm lucky if I get 5 minutes with a GP when I'm sick, let alone if I feel perfectly
Their
fine.
time is divided up by the minute. These are social workers that practice medicine. This is how it should be done. Make no mistake, this is correct. This is how it should be done in society, to me. Yeah. She's like, you're gross as hell, cousin. She's like, wow, I didn't expect you to be so gross. It looks like you have fancy cameras. She's such a good sport. Look at it. Listen, she says there's biological illnesses that destabilize the psychological part. Just imagine your regular doctors thinking this holistically about your health and caring about it. I mean, for fuck's sake, you go into a doctor's office, and I'm not trying to shade doctors. I love doctors, even American doctors, even liberal doctors, right? What I'm trying to explain to you is that, like, you go in there and you're like, all right, I got these 3 problems. They're like, well, pick one, chief. Like, that's not right. That's not correct, no matter how you spin it. We do healthcare as business, and it's wrong. It's wrong.
I was honestly amazed by the Cuban health system, and frankly, I found it embarrassing that a country with nothing
Thank
can
you.
offer their citizens much more than a rich country like Australia. But this phone call that interrupted us was an instant reminder of the reality of what they're going through under the blockade. Just like the hospitals, there were barely any medical supplies left in the country, and everyone's just trying their best to get a hold of some. We decided to follow Roxana around that day while she did her house visit, so we could get a better feel of how regular.
You need to understand something, is that we're not talking about a nation that doesn't have the brains or the money to do trade to fund their hospitals. They have the brains and they have the money to trade to get the stuff that they need. They just can't do it because of the United States of America. You need to take that one lesson home. These are not impoverished people that don't want to work and they're just lazy and want handouts. They are better doctors and scientists than we are in our country per capita. And all they want to do is buy the stuff fair and square so they can treat their people and people abroad. Remember, listen to her. Listen to this doc. He explained earlier, the Cuban outreach is built into the ethos of post-revolution. I don't have to talk about Che Guevara to talk about outreach. We can talk about, look at their medicinal programs throughout the decades.
They're dealing with the unfolding humanitarian crisis. The first patient was Glenda, a 79-year-old woman who was diagnosed with diabetes. And after her checkup, she agreed to chat with us about, how she's been dealing with the blackouts.
¿Es posible saber cuándo no vas a tener
hay veces sí, hay veces. La mayor parte de las veces la empresa eléctrica no puede pronosticar porque no sabe.
Sí, sí. Pero para mí es muy difícil aprender cómo funciona esto.
No, lo difícil es saber.
He says, for me, it's hard to understand how someone can function under these conditions. And quite frankly, that's hard. That's hard for him to say. He's admitting his privilege and his treats and his comfort and his lack of understanding of what it's like to struggle. He's doing that, and I admire him for that. But her reaction is telling. She just laughs and goes, in her head, she's like, weak gringa, like, like weak, and it's okay. Like, it's true. We are. And I recognize he's not American. I get it, but you see the point. I'm not speaking for all saltines, but I'm speaking for the bigger picture here.
Pero sería difícil todo, por ejemplo, si no hay corriente, ¿cómo se cocina la cena?
Exactamente. Entonces, ¿qué es lo que hacemos nosotros? Cuando viene la corriente, hay que levantarse a resolver ese problema.
So they said, like, well, how do you cook dinner if the power goes out? And she's like, well, yeah, exactly. Like, we don't have it on our schedule. What happens is we wait for the power to come back and then we fix all our problems at once.
Hacer los frijoles, esto, lo otro, para que sea nada más.
Y eso puede ser a las 3 por la noche.
A las 3 de la mañana. Puede ser cuando sea.
Dice, a eso le suma el agua. Tienen que entonces.
She says when you add water shortages to it, it's a whole other problem. What's up, Jedi?
Otra. Por ejemplo, para lavar hay que tener en cuenta, uno, que haya agua. Porque aunque haya agua en la cisterna, si no hay electricidad para poder impulsarla. Dos, que el motor sirva, porque esa es la otra historia. Y tres, que hay electricidad. Hay que conjugar.
Yeah, so she's basically saying, like, instead of just going to the laundromat or throwing your stuff in the washer, you think, like, is the power on? Is it going to last? Is the water on? Is the water going to last? And is the machine on? Is the machine going to last? Because it's harder to repair things when you're under a blockade. We throw our laundry in the machine. You moved to Tokyo in 10 days? Cool.
It turns out Glenda was 13 years old when the revolution happened, and because she knew how to read and write, as a teenager, she volunteered to go teach in the countryside as part of this, sudden nationwide push to eliminate illiteracy. And what she saw in the Cuban countryside in 1960 broke her.
Y ahí me di cuenta qué cosa era realmente el capitalismo. Por los campesinos sin ropa, los niños con la barriga llena de parásitos. La situación tan grave que había es donde yo alfabeticé, que ahí la situación era morirse de hambre, era la realidad que se vivía en ese momento. A mí se me murió en los brazos un niño de 2 años por asma. Eso fue un golpe para mí.
So she's describing the horrors of doing an outreach program post-revolution with the countryside, the rural folk, and the sheer depravity of suffering that they faced as a result of the capitalist oppression.
Tremendo. O sea, yo tengo eso grabado en mi mente. A mí no hay que me haga cuento de que.
It's been a long time. She still knows it.
I
can never forget it.
I noticed this weird souvenir clock she had on her wall as well, and it turns out she's experienced capitalism more than once. In 2009, the South African government was giving out flights to people who wanted to volunteer in local communities, and she obviously jumped at the rare opportunity to, see the world that she'd been locked out of.
She went to South Africa and she busted out of fucking Cuban oppression. She's like, you know what? I'm gonna go somewhere nice, somewhere where they take care of people, somewhere where there's no problems and everybody gets along, regardless of color, shape, and size. I'm gonna go to South Africa.
Que tenía 500,000 personas.
Poor soul. This poor woman.
Con las mínimas condiciones en Increíble eso, era algo.
I love her.
Y uno de los
She's my
problemas que
sister
tenían
now.
ellos más complicado era que no sabían cómo enterrar a los muertos, porque era muy caro.
They couldn't bury the dead because it was too expensive.
Un consejo que tú tenías que pagar todos los meses para cuando te murieras, te pagaban el entierro. Y entonces cuando yo dije allí, ay, pero si el entierro en mi país es gratis, dice, ¿cómo que es gratis? Es gratis. Dice, no, aquí no, es horrible. No sé allá en Australia cómo será.
She said she's so empathetic. She's dealing with this absolute nightmare. And she's recounting history and how there wasn't even money to bury people. And then after all of it, she says, well, I don't know what it was like in Australia, though. This is somebody with empathy. This is something that we see all over the place in the West and in these liberal democracies. But, you know, they are rewarded for moving away from that behavior. Whereas this woman's life, as struggled as it is, was rewarded for moving towards it in her own way. And it's just admirable. She seriously has the wherewithal to ask about Australia.
No sé allá en Australia cómo será.
Se puede sacar
Wild.
insurance, seguro.
Seguro.
Sí, puedes sacar seguro para cuando eso es algo popular, no sabe. Hay comerciales en televisión. Tienes que sacar.
What he's doing is he's explaining the idea of kind of like health insurance, but just the way our industry works in general. And she knows this. She's just playing along. But he's basically explaining to her, like, no, we have to pay a certain amount a month, and that unlocks a certain amount of things. Fascinating.
Para morir. Eso no existe.
She says here everything is normal. That's funny. She's like, get the fuck out of here. I gotta watch my fucking soap opera. Get out of here. Get the fuck out of here. I love her.
Hopefully one day I get to come back and take her up on the coffee, but I mean, getting to Cuba wasn't easy. And when I turned on the TV that night, it felt like getting to Cuba was almost impossible. Like, our missing boats were primetime news in Cuba, and we were starting to get really worried for our friends. But being scared for your friends and family is just a taste of the daily lives of Cuba.
J5 knows.
You know, they're either facing starvation or like a full-on invasion. Like the next news story was about university students training to defend themselves when the US invades. Like, there isn't a single part of these people's lives that isn't affected by the blockade. Like, from the simplest things, like garbage trucks struggling to get, you know, the few drops of fuel left in the country so the streets overflow with rubbish, to completely empty tourist centers. Like, literally nothing is coming into this country. But in the middle of all this, the weird part is that life somehow goes on. Like, the country's slowly suffocating, right? They're facing a humanitarian crisis on the horizon, but everyone's just trying their best to live their lives in any way they can. Like, I spoke to so many people during this trip, and obviously the video was already enormous, so I had to cut a bunch of stuff. But if you want to see the full uncut conversations with everyday Cubans, jump on the Patreon because I'll be uploading all of them there. But the same thing happened in all these conversations, right? I kept trying to do the maths. Like, if the average salary is like $20 a month and a bag of rice costs, you know, $12.
Well, okay, hold on. Wait a second. Well, hold on. This is weird thing to say. I gotta let him cook. But wait, what?
How is it possible that anyone's surviving? And I asked this question to every Cuban I met, and every person had pretty much exactly the same answer.
My understanding is that there's still ways to get free food every couple of blocks, once a week. There's tons of ways to get free everything. Still, even with all the issues, it's just not like what it was. Let's see what it says.
They had no idea either. It's crazy. Like, a couple of days later, we found out that our friends weren't dead, which is...
He kind of leaves out a little
and the rest of our
interesting thing there.
Cuba. And obviously the Cubans were ecstatic that, you know, someone out there cares about what's going on. But the reality is that what's on those tiny little boats can only go so far. Like, things are getting really, really bad in Cuba. Like, people are dying, and everyone else is just living on borrowed time. And this was the point of the blockade for the past 60 years. When enough people starve to death, the Cubans won't have many options left, right? They'll get desperate, and they'll eventually dismantle the socialist system they've built. I mean, unless the US gets bored of waiting and invades them first. But either way, you know, the mafia will get their cities back, the plantation owners will get their slaves back, and the US will get their sugar companies back. And the people of Cuba, they can look forward to becoming just like all the other capitalist third world countries around them, like Haiti and Dominica, or even Puerto Rico, right? Which is actually part of the US, but they haven't had a functioning electricity grid for the past 9 years anyway. Like, these countries experience some of the worst living standards in the world, and their lives are about to get much worse because the US recently kicked all the Cuban doctors out of the third world as part.
Well, you know, they do have a trash problem in Cuba because paying sanitation workers is pretty tough to do, and the oil for their trucks is it's a lot. You know, I know a little bit about Cuba. I'm not saying I know more than my chatters, but I know a little bit about Cuba, like the way it is now. I've watched a couple of things on it, and I got to say, it's not easy there. They do have major issues. One of them is trash. Now, the idea that Colombia has more trash issue than Cuba is funny. It is fun. I'm not like in a derogatory way, but like it's funny because, you know, it's probably because they're not spending enough money on the problem in Colombia. That's my guess. Not an issue of being restricted to the it's a lot of heavy machinery to process it, to collect it, right? What I've seen them doing is like they let it pile up on a street corner and use a truck, like a tractor, like a backhoe, like a scoop, like a front loader to pick it all up and to put it in the back of like a box truck. I've seen them do that. It's much cheaper to do that than have the truck come by, you know, every day or two. But like, it's not pretty. Like, there's a lot of issues here.
Part of the blockade. So I guess Haiti doesn't have any healthcare now either. And
speaking of trash, they haven't taken my trash for 2 days.
From, Haiti to Somalia, where, you know, people can't afford food and everyone's slowly starving to death. In all these places, it's kind of really hard to even work out where to start, right? Like, how do you fix this? Who's going to invest? What would they even build there? Is it going to go to the right people, right? But the tragedy of Cuba is that they've already set everything up on their own. You know, they got world-class healthcare. They've got the infrastructure and the know-how. Like, the only thing
the
we
Cuban
need to do
example.
is just stop fucking with them. You know, like literally the only thing the world needs to do is just treat them how we treat any other country in the world, right? Let them buy food, let them buy fuel, let them buy medicine. Just let them sell stuff. I don't know. We just need to be normal.
I know for a fact that this is a message for like liberals, right? Not for leftists. Just understand that when he's talking.
At this point in the video, you know, I'd usually provide a link, right? Like, I want to share a fundraiser for Progressive International that's planning to bring more aid boats to Cuba, but the US has sanctioned them too. So honestly, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't usually say this, but I'm completely out of ideas. It's up to you guys. Like, you need to do everything you can to stop your governments from killing these people.
Great video. You know, what I like about the video is he did spend a fair amount of time building up to it in like a normie way. And then he kind of let you actually read some of the dialogues from the Cuban people. We really only got to see people talk about healthcare and stuff. There's so much more to it. I'm sure he has it like, you know, on his page or whatever, but it's still a good video. Way better than other people's Cuban trips. What I'll say is this. He says it's up to you to hold your government accountable. And as a Marxist-Leninist, my question to my chat is, whatever you believe, whether you believe in, you know, liberal democracy, have private property and do profit and do electoralism and go on and so on and so forth. Like, if your plan is to slowly add patches and changes and minor features to capitalism as a response to seeing maybe a more up close and personal view of what it's like to be the victim of capitalism, you know, it's just, it begs the question, you know, you know, how long will it take us to actually see change in the form of revolution in some of these empire moments here with the US? And I don't know. Certainly, I'm not optimistic enough to believe that anything's happening anytime soon. Doesn't even seem close. Seems like this is firmly in the stage of just normal imperialism. This is what we want. The only thing that stands out is just we're really bad at it. That stands out to me. Typically, the US has gone from okay to amazing at imperialism. For some godforsaken reason, Donald Trump is like, yo, what if we just did the thing, but did it in an awful fashion? Thanks for the video, Rack, my boy. That was awesome video. Play a couple maps here, and I'll get off. See if I can die real quick after a couple drinks.